What's the first thing women notice? Your face. That's why you got to take care of. Simple things like getting a haircut, grooming your face, and brushing your teeth is important. But there's one thing guys miss and that women always notice. It's when a guy isn't taking care of his skin. That's why I'm so excited to have T. Shanley as a sponsor of today's video. T. Shanley simplifies the process of taking care of your skin. They provide you with all the products you need and nothing you don't. Seriously, I don't think some of you believe me when I tell you how much implementing a quality skincare routine will improve your confidence in all aspects of your life. I recommend you start with the level 1 system, which comes with all the basics: daily face wash, exfoliating scrub, an AM moisturizer with an SPF 20 and a PM moisturizer. But and to make it dead simple for you guys, they provide an instruction card in every box that tells you when to use each product, how much to use, and in what order. But because T just sponsoring this video, they're offering you an amazing deal. Just click the first link in the description and get 40% off your first skincare system and free gift. Plus, as a member, you'll get 20% off for life. By the way, one of their new gift options is a silicone body scrubber, which is a $20 value and a complete game changer. Once you use this, you'll never go back to a regular loofah ever again. So don't wait any longer. Click the first link in the description to start your skincare journey today. It's go time. What's going on, family? How y'all doing? Let me go ahead and introduce the crew. We got Miss Kelly, Rainy, Miss Taken, Hink, Chanel, Luis, me, myself, I'm the PJI. Welcome. What's going on, family? What's going on? How y'all doing?
What's happening now, JR? What's happening, y'all people?
What's going on, Hink? Got Viz as well. What's going on, Viz? How you doing? Miss Taken, like she tired, ain't she?
Yeah, man, I can't hear you guys.
Go ahead and pull her down, man.
It started raining.
I don't want to leave her in that position. Oh, there she go. She's back now.
And I got caught in the rain. So my bad, y'all.
No, it's all good. It's raining where you are? You're in the A, right?
It's bad. They shut down the schools. The kids aren't coming to school tomorrow. They're having a digital learning day.
That internet connection. It's just me? Okay. Is it my internet?
What is it doing?
Can you guys hear me okay?
It must be my internet.
No.
Can you guys see me okay and hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. I think my internet messing up. I thought it was y'all. Give me 1 second. Is anybody experiencing any freezing, or is it just me?
Maybe it's just you.
Okay. There it is right now. I think it's good now. Let me do a mic check. Mic check, Kelly.
Check.
Okay. I might have to do something.
I'm starting to feel like myself.
Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can correct this issue right quick. We put a little bit of music on. Try this. Might check, Ramy.
Yo.
Okay, we all good now. My apologies, man. Whenever you are messing around with the internet, it can be flaky sometimes, but you guys are freezing up. And I heard somebody else like they was freezing up on their end, but we seem to be correcting now. Where's Luis at? And Luis might have popped back out. Let me get the housekeeping out the way. Our apologies again. Shout out to the sponsor, T. Hanley. Uncomplicated skincare for men, 40% off, along with a free gift. And if you guys click the link that's in the description, you get 20% off for life if you become a member. So click that link that's in the description. We also have your Sure Man King on top. This is for your beard care. If you're looking to get your beard in order, you're looking for a gift for your husband, brother, son, whoever that male may be. This is an excellent gift. I strongly suggest that I use it morning and night. Fantastic product. I love it. That link is pinned to the top of the chat and as well as in the description. Salute too. Harrison Davis already $5 says salute. Appreciate that, sir. Shout out to everybody that's in the chat. Fishing to Fit. We also have Harrison, Erlande. Hopefully I said that correctly. We have, how do you pronounce his name, panel? And Nyla? Anila? Anybody can pronounce it? No? So it's not just me. Okay.
Inela? Inela?
Nayla. I think that second is I. Silent.
Okay.
Hey.
Welcome. We was just trying to figure out how to pronounce your name. I do see you active in the chat, but welcome. Good to see you. Good job, JR. You're smart. Thank you. Anyhow, let's go ahead and get this show started, man. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Feel free to go ahead and share this stream. Let's make sure we mute up in between so that we can reduce feedback for the panel and for the audience. I can tell fall coming on, Viz. You got that Scully on, bro.
Man, I'm fighting this little cold.
Okay. I'm about to write that down. So put a Scully on when you're fighting the cold.
Hey, shit, you gotta keep the skull warm.
Okay. The skull warm. We'll let that marinate a little bit, Viz. All right, here we go, y'all. So we're gonna go ahead and start off with the main topic of the show, and then I got a few additional topics on the back end that we're gonna get into. The main topic is beyond the wallet. What real value do men bring to relationships? Let me just get one word answer from the women on the panel. What's some additional value that men bring outside of their wallet? Start with you, Miss Kelly.
Affection.
Affection. Okay, Ramy.
Groundedness.
Groundedness. Okay. Go ahead, Miss Taken.
Intelligence.
Intelligence. Okay. Go ahead, Miss Chanel. I like that hat.
Thank you. I want to say protection.
Protection. Does any man want to volunteer anything? Like what do men bring to the table? Just one word We ain't got to elaborate. We'll get into it after I play the clip. I guess we don't bring no value.
So what is it
like,
that
I'm surprised
ladies,
Hank didn't.
Okay, y'all talking all at once. Go ahead, Hank.
you want wants to hear my opinion. I know that's right. Sound like the ladies described me when they was describing all these fine traits about a man. I mean, that's Mrs. Hink sound blessed, right? Right on.
Praise the Lord.
Go ahead, Luis. You was trying to say something?
Yeah, I was trying to take notes real quick. So I heard groundness, protection. What was the other one?
Intelligence.
Intelligence. Okay.
Just so you guys know, taking notes is an excellent way to make sure that you don't forget what you were going to say. Then that way, that limits you cutting people off. So you got the note takers, man. These are experts.
Been doing that since King Talk. Okay, so we got groundness, protection. What is it that you said, Hink? What did you add?
Oh, I didn't add anything but myself. So no, go ahead, brother.
So I'll put Hink down. Anybody talked about leadership?
No, leadership was not one of their first choices.
You know,
we got to put leadership down. What you got, Viz? Anything? You on mute, just so you know. I'll go ahead. Structure. Structure is mine. I'm going to go ahead and put that down, Luis.
Put Scully's down too.
Scully's for 200. Let me see what we got in the chat. Somebody says strength. Dependable. The D. What else we got? Let me see. That's all we got for right now. But yeah. So just a few things. What you got, Viz? We didn't hear yours.
I think somebody said, man, it's the one I was gonna say. I was gonna say structure.
Oh, that was me. You can go ahead and pick another one, though, Viz.
Let's say honor.
Okay, honor. I like those answers. Go ahead and get Clout Jones in the mix. Finally, superstar Clout Jones is in the house.
How y'all doing?
Clout Jones is a artist. Go ahead and sing something for us, Clout.
No, we're not doing that right now.
Oh, okay.
Y'all can go to my website though, cloutjones.com.
Okay. I'll make sure y'all go to Clout Jones' website, man. He's an artist. I think Ramy an artist too, right? You sing? Yeah.
I rap and I sing.
Rap? Okay. You want to spit something?
No. What Klaus said on my website.
It might have been an opportunity, man. We might have some ARs and ANRs in the chat or something, man. It's just y'all missing out, man.
Mm-mm.
She said not today.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. All right, let's go in and get it started, though, man. Clout, you there? I just went around the panel asking them a question. Would you like to participate in this question?
Absolutely. What's the question?
All right, we're going to get into the main topic beyond wallet. What real value do men bring to relationships? So we just went around just giving one-word answers as far as what men bring. What is your one word that men bring of value?
One word. Stability.
I think we're off to a great start, man. We're off to a great start. So should nobody have any troubles if ever asked, what do they bring to the table? We got some options. Luis is going to send out emails so we can have something to.
We didn't put problems on that email, though. I mean,
Problems?
No, I'm just joking.
All right, so let's go and get into it, though. I appreciate y'all participation. Hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Let me go ahead and get this clip back up because I did go back and come back in. I'll play the clip and get our reaction.
Because I get you have options. You're handsome, you're successful, you will have options forever. So it really is in your hands, your fate. So you can tell me I'm great all you want, but you're not pursuing me, and I know why. Because I require too much. And that's all right. I'm okay with that.
What do you mean by that, though? What do you mean what do you require?
I require discipline and intention. And I require a level of like investment in terms of time. And you know, it's like you can say, oh, I took her to this restaurant, I took her to that restaurant. And I'd be like, well, what's my favorite color? There's no amount of dinners that you will ever buy for me that will get my panties off. So you really need to figure out what it is that you think you have to offer and what it is that you think I value, because it's never going to happen without real investment. I can do it myself. I can pay for whatever restaurant I want to go to myself.
Yeah.
I have a nice car. I have a nice house. I have friends. I have a successful career. So I am emancipated to a certain extent because those things don't entice me. So it kind of is a what do you bring to the table that's not material. That is something that's compelling.
All right, let's go ahead and get into it. I see Rami nodding her head. Why don't you go ahead and kick it off, Rami? I can always come back to you. If you just nod your head, so that's why I decided to pick on you.
Cool. No, I'm cool with that. I just thought it was well said. Like, you know, there are a lot of, and I see this all the time, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Y'all see something different, but a lot of single women who are feeling like I'm not settling. Meanwhile, what are the men saying and thinking? Do they actually want to be in situations? Because men that are successful have a lot of women that want to be in something. Like, it's really, I don't know. I love that it wasn't a men versus women thing. It's more like, this is what I'm dealing with and where I'm coming from, and this is what I see of my options. And it's always up to the man, I feel like. You know what I mean? Like, but she was being honest about where she's at, what she's expecting, what she wants to, because man, people do come around like and think like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. But what if that's not, what if it could be something simple, right? Like, let's say you go to take out the guy's coming up to take out the trash. I could take out the trash. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to take the trash. I'm in to take the trash. But just for instance, he's taking out the trash. If you taking out the trash and being here is costing me energetic more, you're not investing in what I got going on, you're not adding to me in the ways that can make me grow as a plant, right? Because we know different plants need different things to grow. What is that worth what you're bringing? You know what I'm saying? So it is about investment, because when you invest in something, you ask questions about, you're intrigued to know, how can I keep this investment going and up and, you know, developing and benefiting me too. So I thought it was well said. That's why I was shaking my head like, man, this is the plight. And I think it's crazy sometimes when men come with what do you bring to the table? But I think it's an important question for him to ask too, though, in all honesty. But it's, you know, it was well said.
All right, go ahead, Luis.
You know, I found the video a little bit very forward, which is nothing wrong with that, but it was just, I don't know, it kind of came off as like I'm on this high pedestal in a way. At least that's how I perceived it. I probably need to go back and re-listen to it again. But there wasn't an opportunity to, you know, to have conversation, because she's like, you can't buy me. You can't finesse me. You can't buy me. You can't give me things. You have to understand the things that I like and that I value. And sort of, I never heard from her part, I value conversations. So in that conversation, get to know me, get to understand me. You know what I'm saying? Pick up on things that I do, how I move, how I, you know, my mannerisms, right? You know, pick up on all these subtle cues that women tend to kind of lay out along the line. And I think that if that man is paying attention, he'll pick up on those things and he'll start investing. He's like, "Oh, I noticed that you do these things, or I noticed that like you pay attention to these things," and sort of there's a level of investment because you're paying attention. If your dude is not paying attention, doesn't know what you do, how you move, or anything like that, he's just not paying attention. He's there physically, but he's not there mentally, and he's not there emotionally either. So, so I could attest to that. But the part that kind of it came off like you need to figure all this out, and it was like I don't understand where was the conjecture opportunity to have the conversation to be like, look, I need you to court me, I need you to pursue me, and show effort, show initiation, show that you're interested in all these different facets. It came off very pretentious in a way. At least that's what I got out of it. Hey, you.
Okay. Go ahead, Miss Kelly.
I think she just tried to state how she feels as directly as she could. I think she basically was just saying, I want more than the bare minimum. And that was just her delivery. I guess she probably experienced a lot over the years in dating. And I think she was married at some point too. So she must be divorced now. But I think that's all she was saying. And it could come off a bit harsh and not as soft as maybe some other women would have put it. But I don't think there's anything wrong with what she said. That's just what she wants. Now, if she gets it or not, that's another story. But at least she knows what she wants.
Okay. Go ahead, Claps. Like you ready, brother?
Oh, sure.
I mean, I can play the clip one more time. I was gonna play the clip.
It's all good. It's all good. Yeah, it seemed like she focused a lot on like the fact that she was good financially and about about how she could not be finessed and all of that. And it kind of makes me think that that's more so her experience, because it's like she's saying she doesn't want the bare minimum, but then she's like, hey, what's my favorite color? And it's like, that is the bare minimum as far as I'm concerned. Like, somebody you've been dating probably should know your favorite color. That's not really a hard thing to do. So to me, it just means to me that she probably previously dated based off of what the person could financially provide, the restaurant they could take her, the status symbols. And she's probably done that so many times that now she's like, oh, you know what? This isn't quite it. I need someone who actually likes me, and who's actually invested in me as a person. So I really think that's just all it is.
I agree.
All right.
Yeah, but her presentation and delivery was not indicative of that. It just seemed like she was, I don't know, like she's been given the short end of the stick. And to Kelly's point, she's like just stating how she just feels. And it's like, yeah, I could understand that. And I think that a lot of people could receive that. But the part about it is that you attract more bees with honey. And unfortunately, you're giving out a lot of vinegar in her statement.
So you said she was a little bit too masculine? Is that what you're saying?
I think that
standoffish.
It came off a bit standoffish. Yeah, I agree. Go ahead, Viz.
To kind of piggyback off of what Louise said in the fellas, me personally, when I hear women say that I'm financially set, I don't need the money, blah, 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 like that, to me, it seems, it's something about that and maybe it's because of the narratives that's being pushed nowadays, but it's something about that when women say that, it just sounds weird, because a relationship should not be based off of that. Yeah, you're supposed to be able to provide and stuff and things of that nature. But just how she stated that the bare minimum of knowing her favorite color, this should be the basis before you even step out on a date, in my opinion. So when women say that, it just sounds weird, because it's like, okay, well, it seems like there's an alternative, a different alternative motive than what's being said. I try to pay attention to the subcontext of what it is that people say when they say it and how they say it. That's the power of the English language. So for her to make that statement and deliver it, if everybody on the panel can agree that she delivered it a certain type of way, then it's like, damn, okay, I understand what you're saying. I agree with it. But what is truly the subcontext of what you're saying? Just the whole what do you bring to the table conversation, in my opinion, is some peon ass shit on both sides. It's irrelevant, in my opinion, for us to have this conversation, because I'm not going to ask you what you bring to the table. It's what do you show? What are you bringing to the table? You telling me what you bring, that don't mean shit. But how are you going to show me that you're bringing this stuff to the table? You know, because I can tell you, you can tell me, you can do it for a day, but is that something that you're going to consistently do? And the things that I bring to the table, are you going to truly value that throughout the relationship or throughout the time period? Or is that just relevant right now? So I think that is, I think she said a lot without saying nothing, to where we get it, but it's something more going on that she's not saying. And she's saying it in this straightforward demeanor, as if it seems as if she's trying to cover something else up.
Because I think you made a good point, because when I was growing up, I don't think that was ever a question. I think it became an internet thing, and we mostly paid attention to what the person was showing us. But as I got older and I started to, because when you're in a relationship and you feel like you're putting in a lot of work and you're doing a lot, sometimes it can be draining because you're not receiving anything. So I can see where it can be a valid question, but maybe not financially. But you really do have to vet people and see what you're going to be dealing with for years to come. Because I'm telling you, if you're doing every single thing that you're supposed to do and you're not receiving anything, you're going to be drained. The interest is going to go away and you're going to start to get annoyed by the little things. So I think it is important to not necessarily what they bring to the table, but what type of person you are. You know, are you generous? Are you kind? Are you thoughtful? Are you considerate? Are you helpful? Do you value family? Do you want to build together? Do you want to grow? So these are some of the things that I think can equate to what it is that you can bring to the table, because every table is different. Everybody's table don't look the same. But I think the internet has put so much focus around finances and kind of physical things, where I think a lot of things will come naturally if the inside is right. But go ahead, Ms. Taker. I'm gonna play the video one more time just so everybody can look at it again, and then we'll go ahead and go to Ms. Taker.
Because I get you have options. You're handsome, you're successful, you will have options forever. So it really is in your hands, your fate. So you can tell me I'm great all you want, but you're not pursuing me, and I know why. Because I require too much. And that's all right. I'm okay with that.
What do you mean by that, though? What do you mean what do you require?
I require discipline and intention. And I require a level of like investment in terms of time. And you know what, it's like, you can say, oh, I took her to this restaurant, I took her to that restaurant, and I'd be like, well, what's my favorite color? There's no amount of dinners that you will ever buy for me that will get my panties off. So you really need to figure out what it is that you think you have to offer and what it is that you think I value, because it's never going to happen without real investment. I can do it myself. I can pay for whatever restaurant I want to go to myself.
Yeah.
I have a nice car. I have a nice house. I have friends. I have a successful career. So I am emancipated to a certain extent, because those things don't entice me. So It kind of is a what do you bring to the table that's not material. That is something that's compelling.
Mm.
And also, if you pay attention, man, you can kind of tell. Usually, when people are overcomplicating that, is usually because they're speaking from a place of pain. Like they've gone through some things and they don't really like the results that they've been getting. They don't really like the failed relationship. So now their guard is up and they are making sure that they don't experience this again. But go ahead.
Hey,
I was about to say something. I think I was going to say something in Viz, and we also got to get mistaken.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, now that we rewatched it, she's a little presumptuous. Like she says, you know, you're not pursuing me and I know why. And I feel like that right there is her problem. How do you know why? Every man's different. There's a lot of guys that are, I mean, she's single, right? So there's obviously a lot of men that aren't pursuing her. She's clearly attractive. She's a beautiful woman. She's famous. People know her. So there has to be a reason why these men aren't pursuing her. And her assumption is that the reasoning is that her standards are too high. And maybe that's not it. You know, maybe she's a little aggressive in the way she speaks. You know, maybe she doesn't smile often. Maybe she's not very inviting. Maybe she gives off the energy that she thinks her standards are high, you know, but they aren't because the people she's dating don't even know her favorite color. So I don't know, like she's saying there's no amount of panties. I mean, no amount of dinners that you could buy to get her panties off. Granted, but to me, that's kind of what it sounds like. It sounds like dinners have been getting her panties off for a long time, and the guys have been getting her panties off with dinners don't even know her favorite color. And she's looking back at her life and she's frustrated now, and she's like, well, what else can you bring to the table besides all this stuff? But that's because before, what she was asking what you could bring to the table was all of that stuff. So she's still asking for that stuff. She's just saying, hey, can you like me too? And you know, it just seems a little bit like she's coming from a hurt place. And yeah,
no, tag me in, Clout. Tag me in.
Hold on, Louise. Let's get Mistaken in there. Go ahead, Mistaken.
I guess I'm looking at something totally different. I guess this is where that men are from Mars, you know, women are from Venus. I happened to see not that particular show, but when she was on what's the guy's podcast? My dear future wifey. On that one, and I had watched that whole one. She was pretty much reiterating the same thing, and what y'all are seeing, I guess I have a different perspective from seeing her in that interview, and then also from the female perspective as well. I don't think this is my interpretation. I don't think what she's saying is necessarily coming from a place of hurt. I think it's coming from a place of healing and knowing. So when you go through stuff, it's kind of like, okay, I've done this. Now I have identified what my standards are, what I'm not going to settle for, because this isn't going to land the results that I need now that I am healed and want more, right? So some of the things that I had wrote down, I think sometimes, again, this is my opinion, when men run into women who are confident and very assured of themselves, a lot of times they misinterpret that as a woman being like, you said, Louis, pretentious, or being like, oh, she thinks she all of that, or, you know, like those kind of things. But when you have knowledge of self and you begin to know who you are, you do develop a set of standards that you expect somebody either to respect or reject and move on, right? And I think that was the place from where she was speaking from. Like, you know, a lot of men and women reinforce the idea of, you can get me with a few dinners, pay a few bills, and, you know, you can get in my pants. So if men are leading with that and women are reinforcing that same messaging, what she's saying is you got to come at me different because I'm not one of those women, because I can buy my own dinners. So you can't, butter me up with dinners and nice jewelry and nice cars and paying my bills, because I can provide all of those things my own. What I'm looking for is substance, right? And that's not something that you can measure in how many material things you can get me. So that was what I heard and saw. And one of the other things that it was crazy, because I was literally having a conversation with somebody at work today. And one of the things that we had talked about was, when people say that comment, bring to the table, or, a lot of times when people begin to explain and describe what they're bringing to the table, is usually something that is superficial, materialistic. Like typically when women are asking that to men, they're talking about monetary and materialistic things. And men, when they're asking that, are typically looking for service and support. Like, how are you going to do those things? But all of those things to me are very superficial, when the real thing is the character of the substance of a person, the character of a person. Instead of describing what they do, they describe what they do as opposed to who they are. So, but I think she was clarifying that the type of woman I am, these things aren't going to impress me. I'm not going to have sex with you just because you provided these things, because I can do that myself. I'm worth more than that. I value myself more than that, which is odd because all of the men up here talk about that all the time. A woman knowing what she wants, setting standards, not the cutest man that come across, then all of a sudden she throw her standards to the side. So you have a woman now that's saying, I have standards. This is what I expect. You're not going to get my panties off because you do this. And now y'all are saying she hurt.
Gentlemen, hold the line. Hold the line.
I agree with most of what you said, right? But there are a few things where I disagreed. One was the confidence thing, right? I don't find that she's confident. At least she's not. I don't feel that she's confident in her femininity. I think she's confident in her masculinity, which is why all the measurements that she used to say that she's good is, oh, I can provide for myself. I have my own money. There's no amount of masculine, quote unquote, providing whatever you're going to do that's going to get the panties off. But she didn't seem confident in her femininity. And the reason why I say that is because she wasn't under attack in that interview, but her entire tone, her entire energy was masculine and defensive. It sounded like she's in a boardroom, but she's talking about relationships and love. This is a woman talking about relationships and love. There was no softness in her. That's part of the problem. I personally think that that's why people aren't pursuing her, because, and also she didn't really list any of those standards besides the one standard she listed is knowing her favorite color. Besides that, she just said, you're going to have to decide what it is that you think you bring to the table, and you're going to have to figure out and decide what it is you think that I'm looking for. But she actually didn't provide any standards. So if there was any man that was watching that show and seeing her as a potential to date, they still wouldn't know how to approach her, because she has not said what her standards are. And that alone communicates that she's difficult, because she has the opportunity freely with no resistance to give her standards freely, and she still didn't do it. So imagine what it would be like when you're sitting on a date with her.
I just have a quick question. Are standards for, if it's her standards, is it for her to give you a list and tell you these are my standards? Or is she supposed to know those standards and observe you to determine whether or not you are a person that's in alignment with her standards? I think
a standard is something that can be communicated.
She should not tell you what her standards are, because that's giving you the roadmap to you pretending to do all of these things that I say that I'm looking for. So I have to watch to make sure that your actions are in alignment with what I'm saying I need and want for my, in a partner.
Okay.
I 100% agree with what Mistaken said. Absolutely. But to piggyback off of what Clout was saying, if I was sitting on the opposite side of a dinner table with her, and she said that these are my requirements, your requirements, that sounds as if you're not going to allow for this to be genuine or organic. There's going to constantly be tests. I'm gonna be tested constantly. This is going to be something that you are literally going to make me. We already invest into relationships, but now I'm going to have to be super duper invested in order to just scrape the surface with whatever is going to be presented. To most men, I would assume now that I've joined this YouTube space, I know that it is complicated for some men, but I would think for the most part, a woman having standards and confidence is the most beautiful and sexy thing a woman could have. So the only way that a man will be intimidated by that is if you are overly masculine and this is, I have to protect myself. So this is why I'm so confident, much rather than you just being confident.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I want to get Rami in there. Let's get Chanel in there. Go ahead, Rami. I know you wanted to say something.
Yes, peace. Thank you. I just to hop in for real. You know what? I'm gonna just go off my notes because I feel like that's how I'll be in here talking for 5 hours. No, but like, first of all, the term bring to the table, I do feel like the internet turned that phrase completely up. Like, you know, it's one of them things where it's an icebreaker. It's something to say wrong. Like, wow, this goes deep. You know, it brings up gender roles. You know what I mean? It's so much that in trying to connect with another person or other people, that's something to savor on and bite off of, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, what do a person bring to the table, right? But I feel like I see how we can misread each other, right? For instance, if a man is passionate, right, about something, let's say basketball, everybody is accepting it, smiling, cheering behind, yeah, he this and that, right? Like, everybody is accepting that passion. But when a woman is passionate about love, right, and her heart and protecting that, because that's where everything I do flows from, right? And I just say me, but where women get passionate, now we're angry. And to me, you know, a man looking at that woman saying that, that's why I think Clout, you might have kicked it off. Some of you guys read into her anger, right? But passion is the cousin of anger. If we we talk about the English language, if we look at passion, it does have to do with being angry, right? In a way, by definition. So I'm saying that to say, you were snapping, by the way, on some things. I just want to say that. If she's angry, a man can look at that, and that's what we mean. For me, what I mean by leadership or groundedness, or probably what she means, right? Because when we talk about bringing it to the table, it is more than just material. But I want to touch on that. I'm gonna make that brief too. If she's talking about him, a man seeing her, and now I'm passionate, you like that I'm confident and I have standards, as long as I'm not talking about it. But as soon as I open my mouth and express it in a way that is passionate, now you're turned off and you're repelled. And I find that interesting, because if a man looks at me, I had a male friend tell me, because I rap, right? And I'm an artist of other things, but when I rap, that's when I do sometimes let my masculinity come forward, and I spit, and I'm in that bag, right? But I had a friend who I was concerned, like, man, does that turn like men off? Like, when they see that and I'm coming like that, I wonder. And my friend told me, he said, Rami, he said, as long as I've known you, he's seen my music. He said, you are a woman. There's nothing you could do that's gonna make me feel like you're gonna outpower me as a man. And I said, you know, in that moment, right, that was the comfort. That was the, you know what, you're right. That don't mean it gives me the right to go wild out, but let me express that. God gave me that side too, you know, and it is hurt. So I'm saying that to say I recognize her hurt. It may have been anger, but that's something to think about, because I don't date men, right? Women date men. And a lot of times when we in a dating scene, we're looking for what seems to be equally yoked, right? And sometimes all we have is I'm in the same place and eat lunch and dinner here, and it's expensive and whatever my lifestyle can afford, and I see a man there and he sees me there, wherever I've met this person, that seems to be at minimum an even playing field, right? And a lot of men will approach a woman and come at her, man, babe, and they skipping over a lot of stuff, right? With Saviz, and I hope I'm saying that right, Viz, the poet, to his point, take things slow, right? But sometimes when you meet in that playing field, now it's like, oh shoot, okay, a man will lead, right? Because we look for men to lead. They lead with their pocket of what he can do, how easy he can make my life, being that I'm already doing these things for myself. So now he's coming to pull things up off of me, you know, whether it's stress or the bill, whatever, right? To hang out with him. But I like that she used the word that she is emancipated, because in that clip she says emancipated. We talk about the English language, right? I'm emancipated to a certain extent. I've said this before, but I'm gonna say it because I haven't said it in this space. So less than 100 years ago, women did not have their own bank account. So it is a major accomplishment today that we're able to have our own bank accounts. Now, if we weren't able to have our own bank accounts, then what does that mean that my value is at the table, right? Because now it puts the dynamic where I can't provide and I can't do for myself. So I'm not to go too deep into that, but I'm just I feel that material always is going to come up when we talk about the table, because was not always fair, and we're still trying to find our balance with one another, seeing that everybody's economic status is different, but everybody's likes and wants are different when it comes to a safe space for a household. So I just want to, you know, put that out there because, you know, some women, it ain't about material. It's about how safe do I feel? And I just want to say this too. Last thing, Miss Taken, she was snapping because when she said, and it goes into y'all like women that are confident, have standards, as long as I'm not speaking about them in a passionate way, right? If I said, baby, I like walks. Baby, I like walks. Okay, like what I'm saying, it is received different. But if I'm not talking about it and I just have to now watch you to see if you are in alignment, that means that I'm have to watch. I'm keeping my eyes on you. What about the integrity? What about honesty? What about if I'm opening up and you ask me, or we're talking about stands and I'm sharing that with you as a man that I want to do life with, or want to even share space and time with? Why do I have to watch you now? You know what I'm saying? And then you're going to pretend to fit that mold for a short time. It's crazy. I know that's what men do, but I want to be around men with integrity where I don't want to have to leave the room and watch my back, my purse, my coin purse, my heart, none of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't like how men sometimes, and I promise I'm done. I don't like how men sometimes you'll talk to me as your woman, like, oh, girl, I want to kick it with you, da-da-da. But then you get on the phone with your guys and man, it's broad, man, this little thing. Y'all talk crazy in different settings. And I just think it makes me wonder who's teaching the men integrity at this point. You know what I'm saying? So that's my take on all of that, for real.
Okay. I appreciate that, Rami. Let's go ahead and get to Chanel and then get immediately to Hink. I got things I want to say, but we got to be fair to the panel. They haven't spoken yet, so allow them to be able to speak. Go ahead, Chanel, and then we'll go straight to Hink. You want me just so you know, like we can't hear you. No, did you get a phone call? You might want to hit the refresh if you did. Yeah. Go ahead, Hink.
Yeah, a lot of stuff been said, a lot of stuff been shared. I appreciate everybody's point of view, but I found there's a lot of bullshit. So let me say this: I want to know about this tape because I'm all about. I need to know the benefits you're gonna bring. I didn't use the words table, bring it to the table. I need to know what benefits you're gonna bring, because that needs to be beneficial. Now, one of the things we definitely need to talk about is finances, income. See, well, that's part of our problem. We didn't talk about that. We wait till we say I do, get under one roof, and then you find out your wife got bad credit, or she got bad spending habits, or this dude got a gambling problem, and he just out there just tricking all his goddamn money off at the strip club. You didn't find out about it because you didn't ask or inquire about it while you was dating or engaged to him, or none of that. You wait till your last name changed, and now you figured all this shit out. Now we need to. I need to know about this on the giddy up. Those need to be some of the tough questions that we need to ask. Those need to be the hard interrogating questions as men we need to ask and inquire. So I want to know what she's all about. I want to know about what benefit, how much money she makes. I want to know her credit score. All that's very important. And to sit there and say it's not, you lied to your damn self. Because you need to know if this woman's going to put you in debt. You need to know what type of debt she's going to bring and that you about to buy and invest into. You need to know all that. That needs to be a must. And if you're not going to inquire about that, you just lied to your goddamn self. Because I can't deal with somebody who's broke. I can't deal with somebody who doesn't have financial literacy and knowing about finance. I can't deal with them. I'm not going to waste my time with them. And I wouldn't encourage my son to do it or any of my nephews or little cousins. Why would I want to tell them to invest in a woman who doesn't know how to spend money, how to make money, how to budget? Matter of fact, I need to know how to go out there and grind. I'm scared to work. I'm all about one pot. We bringing our money together. Ain't no your money, mama. It's our money. If you're going to give me your body, you're going to give me that goddamn paper. Nothing excluded. We come together as one. I didn't bless you with my last name just so you can have two different names on the bank account. No, that ain't what we did that for. We come together. That means everything and all things. So yes, I want to know what she brings to the table. Now, speaking on what she was talking about, look, is she come from her place? I don't know. But it sounds like she is. It sounds like she's going through some shit. It sounds like a lot of dudes told her that, you know, it's this masculine, it's not what they want. This is the reason why I think she said it, because she heard it a lot of times. A lot of dudes have told her that shit. A lot of dudes have shared it with, yeah, I can't fool with you. Because you sound a little masculine. You sound like one of the fellas. So no man really wants that. No man wants to deal with that. It's cool that you could buy your own stuff. But when we come together, you're not buying your meal. We buying a meal together. Because like I said, we are together. Now, my last thing is on this. Fellas, know what you're dealing with. Pay attention. There's nothing wrong with you inquiring and letting me know about what your expectations is, right? I know somebody, I think mistaken said, well, now you give them the game plan. We need to know. Now, if you don't tell me up front, if I'm not doing something that's not up to your expectations, you should let me know. At least give me the opportunity to correct, change, or make any adjustments that I need to make. Now, if you don't give me that opportunity, then you ain't shit anyway, and I don't need to be with you. Because ain't nobody perfect. Ain't nobody 100% when they come into the situation. There's going to be some change and adjustment that needs to be made. Now, it's all about what are you willing to change and adjust? Are you willing to give somebody some grace in order for that to happen? Or are you just going to go count them out? And if that's the case, you're going to miss out on a lot of blessings, ladies. If you're going to miss out on blessings, good luck with finding it. I guess you think you got it like it, but you really don't. Because if that's the case, you wouldn't be available for me right now. I'll leave it there.
All right, go ahead, Chanel.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh. Well, I want to say that I'm like mistaken. Like I got something totally. When she first started, the first thing she said was, we have options. And then she started listing, going out to eat, all these things, which is bare minimum. You can kind of get that from anybody. You can get that from a broke guy that got some money that weekend and want to take a girl out. You can get it from a guy that's rich and take you out. That's what I got from that. I got what she's saying is like, we got options. So you can take me out many times. We can go hang out. We can even have sex and do that. But then what? I can do, like, why would I choose you when we got options? I can get that bare minimum from anybody. That's what she was saying, what I got from that. And then what she's saying is, and I want you guys to understand the context of the conversation. When a woman is explaining in an open forum what it is that she wants, it's not going to come out the same way when she's talking to a significant other. In fact, it's not going to really come out in a conversation every time. It's going to come out in actions. When you want to teach a man or a woman how to love you, you do that with your love languages, you guys being around each other. She did mention what she required, and she said she required, she said, I want consistency and intentions. That is what she said. That could be anything. Consistently calling me, consistently coming to see me, intentionally letting me know what it is that you want to do. But I'm going to say this. In a recent experience of a guy that I dated, all we did was went out to eat, went to the movies. And in his mind, he thought he was killing it. And that, in my mind, I'm thinking like, look, I've been married. I've had the highest level of what a man can do for me. So I'm not easily impressed that you think because we went out a couple times, it's time for me to come over now. It's time for me to come over there and spend some quality time. Why? Like, we still got conversations to have, but a lot of men really do think when they taking you out and that bill was $200, $300, they think like they killing it. But no, I've had tabs like that before. I've been out like that before. So when you are giving me bare minimum, but that's all we're gonna get. You give me bare minimum, we're not growing anywhere. So when she said, "What's my favorite color?" she wasn't literally saying, "What's my favorite color?" What she's saying is, saying, what's your intentions with me? I don't think your intentions is just to take me out to eat. Your intentions is just not to that's not what your intentions is. And it could be. And if that's what it is, you've already given that to me. So what else? That's what I got from that. And that's what she's talking about. I don't think she's upset. I think she was in an open forum and the question came, what are you looking for? What you want? And she's very direct in explaining that. But she's not going to be on the date and be like, this is what I want from you. Dot. No. When Miss Taken said you don't want to give a man a lineup, no, there are men out there that will ask this question to women. What type of guy you like? What type of guy you looking for? And there are some women that'll sit there and list exactly what they want. I want a man to do this. I want a man to do that, this and that. I used to be like that in my 20s. And guess what? I ended up dating two guys that did exactly what I told them I liked in the guy. That lasted about 6-7 months. And then all of a sudden, when they got comfortable with me and thought, we in love, now the real person came out. That's not you. And I had to realize, even going through therapy, you're telling these men too much too soon. Some of the stuff that you require is going to come by watching what they do, how they treat you. That's how it goes. They're going to pay attention to you. Oh, she liked this. Let me pay attention to that. She liked coffee. Let me, whatever it is. Paying attention to someone is investing in that person. But some men really think that their pockets is enough. And it is for basic bitches.
Yeah. No, that was a good take. I appreciate that, Chanel. There's a couple things that I want to kind of circle back, and it's very important that I highlight these things. Do you remember at the beginning of the show when JR asked you what are the things that you value in a man or what a man brings or whatever, right? And everybody started to kind of highlight a few things. So I broke them down in 5 different things: mental, physical, emotional, financial, moral/values, right? And for mental, we had groundness, intelligence, leadership, physical, protection, strength, emotional, stability, structure, honor, finance, dependable. Morals and values, virtuous man, spiritual man, family oriented. I added those myself. And sort of when I'm looking at the video twice now, and I'm thinking about the things that she values in a partner, in a potential partner, she never highlights any of the virtual components of how she expects this man to show up, right? Let's put all the material things aside because we understand that she has an illustrious career. She's well off. She has money, right? But how does this man come across spiritually? How does this man come off virtually? She never highlighted any of those things. She highlighted investment. She highlighted discipline, which I could agree. That's important. Attention. All right. Attention to details, right? A man who's attention oriented. I could get behind that, but she didn't give enough context to that. And in that, she gave certain responses that made me think like, okay, everything that you're talking about, you essentially became the man that you always wanted. The things that you highlighted and talked about and bragged, you essentially became the man that you wanted. And unfortunately, when women tend to kind of come off like that and speak in that kind of tonality in that context, men are already splitting hairs about, I find you sexually attractive. I think you're beautiful. I find you sexually attractive, but I don't find you relationship attractive. There are women who are absolutely gorgeous that I can say that chick is bad, but I would never be in a relationship with her because I already see the inherent flaws in how she moves and how she conducts herself. And imagine if I bring this person with me to a business ball, right? Or a winter party. How does that person move and operate in other spaces, given how she is confronted with basic conversations like that? You know? So there was one
Well,
more
I
thing
want to
that
just point out, like,
yeah, go ahead.
when she said he's not pursuing me because I require too much. She wasn't saying in so much those words, I require too much. What she was saying is, you're not pursuing me. So what you're the guy is noticing he's not getting what he wants from her. And in his mind, he feels like I'm doing this, I'm doing that, but he's not getting what he wants from her, or he's not, cuffing her like he think he should be based on what he's doing. And he's realizing, damn, she ain't fucking with me like that. Excuse my language. She ain't messing with me like that. Like I feel like I'm doing this, and she's still playing games. She's still not responding.
Go
Well,
ahead. Sam.
that's because she required a little bit more for that attention, and what you already done is not enough. So that's what she meant when she said, "I require too much." If you want me to be impressed,
And with
it's not
investment.
going to be just that.
See,
I
the
hold tight, y'all.
problem with that,
Hold tight. Let's get Kelly in there, and then let's go to Cloud. Go ahead, Kelly.
So no, I think the bottom line of what she was saying when she mentioned investment, I don't think it had anything to do with finances. I think she's talking about investment in getting to know her as a woman, communicating with her, being consistent, being connected. I think that's the investment because, yes, she can pay for all these things like most women that are stable and adults, with a career. Most women can do that. So that's not even part of the equation. She's just saying that she requires more. So don't lead with your pockets. She can buy her own car, her house, clothes, whatever. She can do that. She's saying that she wants more than that, more than taking her to this expensive restaurant, more than a shopping spree, more than the perks. She wants more. That's why she said, I want somebody that knows my favorite color. Not necessarily, I want you to know that I love green, but I want you to know more about me, the things that I like to do, because dinner's not everything that I like to do. I want you to know the things that I'm passionate about, the things that make me who I am outside of you knowing me as Essence Atkins. I think that's all that she's saying when she says she wants more. And personally, I think it looks like her delivery seems to be the same. Like, I don't think I've ever seen her not talk like that before. Even as an actress, she talks that way. So I think that's just her natural way of talking, her natural delivery. I've never seen her speak like softly, low. I haven't. But I mean, I don't know her personally either, but I think that's all she's saying. Just like you just want, if you're with a woman, you want that woman to connect with you in a way that your homeboys can't, that your mother can't. So that's all she's saying. Dig deeper. That's it.
Yeah, but in the beginning, like I'm trying to figure out what conversations these people are having in the beginning for you not to quickly realize, like, okay, like this person ain't it.
Well,
Go ahead.
they're
Cloud.
my
not.
thing,
They're
my
not.
thing, my thing is it's confusing to say that you want people to dig deeper, but then you're also saying that the reason why they're not pursuing you is because you have too many requirements. Maybe she's putting too many requirements in place for them to dig deeper. Maybe they're not getting to know her because she's making it too difficult. That's
Just
the
like
thing
the
that she's not realizing. A lot of women put up all these requirements and barriers for what the guy's going to date them and how he's going to date them. But all that means is that man does not get the opportunity to get to know you. You have to lower your guard a little bit and at least take a date from a guy maybe you might not normally like. You got to try different things to get the opportunity to get to know somebody. And that right there takes multiple dates. And there's some women who, if the first date ain't in an area that she like, oh, I'm good on him. If he does one wrong thing on the first day, I'm good on him. And it's like, well, you're never going to get the opportunity to get to know nobody. So the things that she wants are contradictory. If you're open to dating and getting to know people, then that means your requirements should be low, because getting to know people allows you to figure out what you like and don't like, because you're actually getting to know the people. You're open-minded. But if you got all these high requirements, you can't get to know nobody. If I'm standing in the club and I'm like, I'm only going to talk to women who are 10 out of 10, got a fat ass, big tits, and are wearing red. If those, she got to have 32-inch hair. That's my requirements. I'm probably going to leave the club most times without a woman. You get what I'm saying? Because the requirements that I'm setting, it's just not realistic. And I think that's why the what do you bring to the table conversation keeps coming up, because it's there to give women like a check and balance. Like, hey, you got all these requirements that you have, but hey, are the things you require and matching what you're bringing to the table? Because if they're not, nobody's going to be willing to put in that effort that you want them to. You're better off being.
I have a question.
Wait, hold on.
I got a question real quick.
Biz, hold on, because I was about to say something, but then Clout was going. Three things. First, Clout, what you were saying is they should lower their requirements. I think that's poor.
Not standards, but requirements.
Well, yeah, because I think there's a difference. You want to maintain your standards so you can filter out too many people that are just gonna come after you, right? Like, you don't want to have a low standard so low that everybody can get access to you. Obviously. You know what I'm saying? So you want to maintain some level of standards so those people that can see what you won't, have an issue with approaching. So something that Hank said, he said that he was talking about the cat, like, if she ain't, got money issues or whatever, just leave her alone, or got all of these issues, then you just need to leave her alone. I think that he was mixing up, like, your character is your character, right? Like, you're not necessarily changing that, right? So it's not about you having flaws. There's a difference between having a character flaw and just having, stuff that you need to work on. So I don't need to tell you what my standards are in terms of what I'm looking for, because that's a character thing that I'm looking for, right? Versus a preference thing, right? So those are two different avenues that you're coming from. I can't tell you the character thing because I have to sit back and observe that. So you can't put on that show. But I agree with you in terms of, if there's certain preferences that I have, I should let you know that, because that's unfair to you, because you can't address those things if it's something that you're okay with, making the adjustments for. Again, that goes to the difference between what a red flag is and what a flaw is. A red flag means this is who I am. You accept it, right or wrong. I don't care. I'm not doing anything to change or grow that. You just gotta accept it. Versus a flaw is, it's like, oh, I realize I do that. I'll take the time to maybe work on that, right? That you're open to making that adaptation and change for the betterment of relationship.
Well, quick question. I'm gonna ask you first, Mistaken. So you're saying that there's a difference between a red flag and a flaw?
Yes. Red flags to me are synonymous with it will go with the character aspect. Those are red flags.
Would that not be considered a flaw?
Character flaw.
Yeah, it is a character flaw, but I was saying the difference between a red flag, when you see that red flag, is like, okay, no, this is a character issue. This is who this person is. Versus a flaw might be, I don't know, flaw might be he doesn't wash his hands every time he uses the bathroom. Something.
So
something like
that's a yellow flag. That's a yellow flag.
That is something, right? That is something that Right. That is something that I may not necessarily like, but that's not going to necessarily be a deal breaker. And it's something that he could change, right? Because it's going to be something that's going to benefit him if he changes it.
Okay.
So that's where I think that's the difference between a flaw and a red flag.
Okay.
We do gotta switch topics in a second.
Oh, damn! I was gonna ask Chanel something.
Yeah. Well, she got two things.
Okay.
No, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, let me ask her this real quick, and this goes back to what she was a subject that she was addressing earlier with the guy that was that you were dating and that he was only taking you to the movies and to dinner. At any point of time, did you guys have a conversation about doing something outside of that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And he still never changed it up because that doesn't, to me, and again, I'm just assuming I don't know every man, but to me, if we go out on a date, we go to the dinner, movies, and you say, "Hey, I'm interested in doing something else," or "Have you seen this place?" or whatever. To me, I would assume that this man would then, if he's serious about courting you and pursuing you, that he will then attempt to do such. But to me, from these conversations, kind of and I don't know, but from this conversation, from what she was saying, and also from what Chanel is saying, it seems like there's a miss of communication going on, to where it's. And I understand women expect men to know and figure things out, but the process is made so much easier if you vocalize it and communicate it, so that I know, okay, maybe maybe I thought that she was big into going out to the movies and going to have dinner. This was something that stood out to me that she enjoyed. So this is kind of our thing, right? And he gets into that routine of this being our thing and not knowing that this really isn't our thing.
As you want to respond, Chanel?
Nah. So, yeah. So it's nothing to do with what we're going to do next and how we're going to do it and what we're going to do different. It's after we do those things and you leave and go home and we don't talk for 2-3 days. The communication in text is not consistent. Good morning, but the response is at 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and I done good morning you at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning. The intangibles, that right there is what supersedes you doing the bare minimum. Yeah, we go out to eat. You know, you're thinking you're spending quality time with me because we're out in public somewhere. But the intangibles, when it's time to have a conversation, when it's time for me to ask those questions and talk about what we like and what we want and we don't, you're still not ready to have that conversation, or you're deflecting that conversation to something else. The intangibles, the things that matter, getting to know me. Let me understand where you really at. You know, are you just trying to go out with me so that we can eventually have sex? Or are you really trying to get to know me? Because I can do that with anybody. I go out to eat with my girls. I got some guys that's cool with it. I can go out to eat. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, the bare minimum, like she said, that we have that option. What we don't have, you know, for me, protection. I used that word protection earlier today. That's important to me. You know, if I'm on the phone talking to you and I'm like, man, my leg hurt, my arm hurt, and this darn garbage can is heavy, and you come over my house to take me out to eat and you still don't offer to do it or something, or you don't look out for me, you know, certain things like being mindful as a man. Oh, she talking about she don't understand why her rearview mirror is not right. You get in my car, I'm saying something to you about it, but I'm trying to adjust it, but you're just sitting there letting me do it. Like, why you ain't trying to look out for me? Like, those are the things I look at. That right there, that'll turn me off quick. I don't care how many times you have to eat.
Well, so Chanel, are these how fast? And I have this question for all of the women on the panel. How quick are you guys actually going out on dates with men before, like, from the point that you meet them and then actually going out on the date? Because it seemed like a lot of these questions, and I'm just going off my own experience and how I used to date. But I would at least have a certain amount of call time with you before we actually go out on the date, so that I can have a good understanding of who you are, what your expectations are, your desires, us just being able to see if we click, that whole shebang. So much rather than waiting until going out on this date, because that, to me, that kind of seems like it's a little counterproductive.
Yeah.
Well, when you're dating somebody, when you first meet someone, I don't think it matters if you already went out the first week, second week, third day, first couple hours. Like, I don't think it matters when that is. But when you guys have started dating and the pattern is every, blue moon, we talk and text, and every blue moon when you want to see me, you want to go out and you want to come over and hang out afterwards.
It
And,
sounds like
there's nothing.
It sounds like the relationship isn't serious though.
Well, when you're dating somebody, you're getting to know somebody. You're getting to know somebody. That's when people are doing the
So
bare
now you got
minimum. Not in
requirements.
a relationship. Well, not for me. You're not going to be doing it. I wouldn't be in a relationship if someone was doing bare minimum. Your bare minimum, you're showing me when we're dating, when I'm trying to see if there's something that's there. That's when you can
Shit,
show your
a
bare
person will
minimum.
show the bare minimum in the talking stage. If we just
Well,
communicate, then you
I
can
guess whatever you
That's
feel
what I'm
talking
saying.
and
How do you have
dating is, to
requirements
me,
in the
that's what
getting to know
dating is. Getting to know somebody the whole time. Until y'all decided y'all's exclusive, you're dating. Until y'all decide to get married, you're single. So, and that's how I feel. And I move accordingly that way. So, I don't
See
know.
what
I
I'm
think
saying?
men think that when they meet a woman at that point in time, if they're doing the bare minimum, that woman don't got no options. Like she's supposed to stop what she's doing. Well, I can do that somewhere else. Why should I just sit here with you and do the same thing? Like, why are we doing this? It's got to be more, something else.
Listen,
So
Damn, man.
nobody,
Y'all heard what
nobody,
I'm saying, though?
nobody.
Y'all heard
Most
what I'm
people.
saying? I believe I said it earlier, and when I was talking about, I said you need to interrogate. So it's obvious certain people don't listen to what I say when I say it. I say it. I said you need to interrogate these heifers. Why the hell we having this? I'm not going to sit there and go back and forth with Chanel. Sound like she wasting this man's goddamn time playing games with him. Don't play games with me. Tell me
I'm
exactly
playing
what
games
you
with
want.
somebody?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like. You playing games with the man.
No.
Let me explain
It
myself.
No.
definitely
Let me
sounds
explain
like you
myself.
playing games with the
I
Explain
man.
can
myself. What I
tell
said.
when a man's intention.
I got
When
you.
a man
I
wants
got
me,
you.
like he gonna
I
show
got
his
you.
intentions. He not gonna just
I strongly
pop up on a
disagree, but
couple
I
of
understand.
dates and then be like,
I understand what you.
"What we
I
doing?"
heard. Y'all ain't got to repeat the same shit. I heard all this bullshit.
And
But
I don't see how anybody can find out someone's entire life situation in their first conversation. I don't care if the conversation is
yeah,
1 hour, 1
that's
minute.
part
Like
of the
you gonna have to
problem.
have
First
multiple
of all,
conversations to get to know
I
somebody.
got you.
One mic, y'all. One mic. One mic. One mic.
But let me say this. First things first, I'm not going to take you out to no goddamn dinner because too many distractions at the dinner. We're going to go on the coffee
I
date. We're going
agree.
to sit in the lounge.
I agree.
And we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to have a conversation prior to me even going out with you to dinner. I'm not going to spend a dime with you unless I talk to you on the phone. Now, I know some of y'all motherfuckers don't believe in talking on the phone no goddamn more. Y'all just want to text all goddamn thing. Fuck that. I need to know. I need to hear your voice. I need your voice reflection. I need all that shit. I want to know everything. Like I said, I need to know your goddamn credit score by that third date. I'm not going to keep wasting my time with you talking about figuring this out. Don't play games with me. Don't beat around the bush. Why are we doing this shit? Ladies like to play a lot of goddamn games. I shouldn't have to read between the lines all the time. Sometimes just tell me what you want. What if you want the garbage taken out, say it. Stop dry begging and say, hey, baby, could you take the garbage out while I go get ready? No problem. No problem. I might not understand. See, I may like mine all the way full. You may not want yours all the way full because you got something in there that you cooked the night before that needs to be taken out because I may not smell it. I may not know it's in there. So tell me. Don't beat around the bush and oh, well, I thought he would do it because no bullshit. Say, baby, you take out.
That was a small example, sir. I was talking about protection. I was talking about a man looking out for a woman. The intangibles, okay?
I got you. But
the intangibles. So ain't nobody wasting a man's time just because, yes, before you go on a date, yes, you're going to talk. But what you don't understand is the men are the one that want to text their way to the bedroom. I like to be on the phone. Men are text their way to a date. They'll text every day. And you're like, okay. So, I mean, and then y'all get mad when women like
you still
me let
patronizing
you
them though.
peacefully be on some bullshit. We'll just let you peacefully be on some bullshit, and then you look up and realize, I thought we was doing this. You've been on bullshit this whole time, and all of a sudden you think we was together?
But you would patronize you. But if you're patronizing him, if this guy is a texter, you're a talker, he's a texter, and if you continue to not say, "Hey,
no, you're gonna tell
I'm
them.
a talker,"
I tell them.
And you continue and you tell him, and he continues to do what he does, but yet you still go out on dates with him.
Well, when someone just because you meet someone and someone says, "Look, I'm a texter," and I'm like, "I'm a talker," you know what I'm saying?
Okay,
and you
so
tell them, you know,
every time he texts you, pick up the phone and you call him. He gonna get the message eventually. Say, well, it's obvious she don't like to text. She's calling me every time I text her a question. She's calling me. Okay, then guess what? We smart enough. We'll get it. Okay, maybe she just want to talk on the phone. No problem. I ain't got a problem there. I'm gonna start doing that because that's what she likes. But you gotta let it.
All I'm saying is that's gonna last about a good 2 months for me. After 2 months, if you don't know what you want to do and you still moving and talking about we still gonna know each other, gone. Because we can do that. I'm not gonna do that for a long time. You're gonna be on another level.
We gotta switch it up. But it's kind of relation we're talking about already. Hit the like button. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We did have a super sticker come in. Christopher Matthew, $5. Want to thank you for that. Let's go ahead and keep it moving, y'all.
Like you don't have to apply pressure because the interest is natural. She wants to see you. You want to see her. So it's just a vibe. Like, you know what I'm saying? She's easier to talk to. She's more available for you. So there's not this thing of me having to kind of like jump through hoops. Maybe different women mean it in different ways, that you have to apply a pressure to get my attention. And then once you finally break down those barriers or climb that mountain, now you finally got my attention. Now there's level 2 in the applying of the pressure. And I'm not fucking doing all that. I'm not the nigga to do all that. I'm not climbing the mountain just to be like, good, level 1. Now climb this one too, just so I can take you on dates and spend money. And I gotta call you and check on you every day. Like, can I spend money on you now? Are you free for me to spend more money? Like, can I buy you gifts? Like, you know, you want money? Like, oh, what the fuck? Like, nah, that ain't me. Nah.
Literally exactly what I was talking about. Nobody wants to.
That's literally what I was saying. That's exactly what it sounds like.
Nobody wants to have. If I got a requirement just to get to know you, that's annoying. That's not fun. That's not entertaining. That's not inviting. Like,
it's not sexy.
It's not sexy. You know what I mean? You just want to meet somebody, be able to casually talk, communicate, get to know each other more and more, and then decide, you know what? I really like this person. We have a lot of compatibility. Let's move this relationship forward. And that's when, and you'll know what the requirements are because you got to know each other. But if I got to meet boyfriend and husband requirements before I could even get to know you, then we won't even know if we really like each other. You might think you want a guy that's a certain type of way, and then meet me and realize that the way I am is actually what you want, and what you thought you wanted the whole time wasn't what you wanted. But we didn't make it to a second date because I made a statement and you judged me off it and was like, nah, you're not meeting my requirements. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of women who will judge a guy based off of what he's making, or where he takes her on the first date. Oh, we going to Applebee's? I'm good. Meanwhile, this guy could be a millionaire. He could be a millionaire, great husband, great communicator, all of those things, but you judging him based on you're not willing to get to know him. You got requirements. No, you got to take me XYZ and spend this much money on me just to have a conversation. Like, nah, it's kind of giving prostitution. Like, there's a lot in modern dating that's very prostitution adjacent, and I feel like that causes a lot of problems. It's like requirements. It's like, what do you think? Nobody owe you nothing to get to know you. Who do you think you are? And
did
honestly,
you say prostitution?
It parallels it. It gives that from a male perspective. It's like, who do you think you are?
Okay. I'm a firm believer that all relationships are transactional. I'm a firm believer in that. Be it a spouse, be it family, business, whatever. Just you being in a relationship with another person, it is transactional. Because if one person,
transaction only works when it's an equal balance. And if I'm trying to get to know you,
and there's a difference between
trying to get to know me. If I'm trying to get to know you and you're equally trying to get to know me, that's the transaction. I
That's the
shouldn't have to,
transaction. I
there
agree.
should be no other investment that I have to make in order for us to have an equal transaction. It's the same with sex. If I'm trying to pleasure you and you're trying to pleasure me, nobody should be paying anybody. Right? That makes common sense. Why should someone else make an extra investment for us to pleasure one another? It doesn't make sense to me.
All right, let's make sure we get some of the other folks in there. Go ahead, Kelly. Let's check on Luis. I
So,
think it's taking in Hink too. Haven't said anything, and Ramy.
so this kind of goes back to what Viz was saying when he asked how many, or like, what's your dating style, or like, how many conversations are you having before you decide to go out with a person? I think you should have plenty of conversations before you even decide to sit down and have a dinner or drinks or coffee with anyone. I think, after meeting someone one night and you're like, oh yeah, let's go out tomorrow. Of course you're gonna have complication because you don't even understand if you like this person enough to even spend time with them. So I think people are jumping into things and not really taking their time to figure out if they want to make that investment that Essence Atkins was talking about. People are meeting people out one night, going out with them the next day. And that's why people are having so many problems. You have to talk to people. You have to get to learn their patterns and the things that they do on a regular basis to see if you even fit in their life. And I just think that there's a lack of it, in my opinion. I really do. People want everything. People are like into microwave relationships, getting into relationships with people in such a short amount of time and not getting to know the person.
Bare minimum. People getting in relationships with the bare minimum.
Right, because
But
this
that's
person
but
has
that's
a
you going
nice
to the
car
Hold
movie
on,
or
hold
a
on,
with
y'all.
nice
Hold on.
house.
Let her finish. Let her finish.
Hello. Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, I think people just need to take time. That's all. Take time. I think that people are just doing too much too fast. I mean, you can get to know somebody pretty good if you just have conversations with them first. Like give them maybe a 30-day trial of just communicating. Then you can get all the other stuff out of the way. You'll understand after 1 or 2 days if you like the person or not. But if you're not even giving it a chance to text and see how they respond, talk once in the morning or anything, you just don't know. And now you're just basing things off of what they look like, what kind of car they have, what their house looks like, or how they present themselves on social media. So it's really important. And although Hink has a barbaric delivery, I think he's still correct on what he's saying. You have to get to know people because why even waste your time? Why? I mean, if I was a man, I wouldn't want to waste money on a woman either. I wouldn't. And just because I may have it doesn't mean that I want to do it. I mean, you have to know who you're dealing with though, but that's another story. So, I mean, we can continue. I don't have to keep going on and on. I just wanted to make that point. Dating styles are very important.
All right, let me go to Luis and let's go, Luis. Check in with Hink and Ramy. Then we'll go back down to Mistake.
Yeah, I'm not gonna belabor the point. I will highlight one thing based on what everybody has talked about so far, and also kind of responding back to the video real quick. I find that today, unfortunately, a lot of people just lack basic 101 communication style. Just like I just don't know what it is and how we got here. Like it is just the more I sit back and just listen and not even talk and engage, the more I just hear it through people how they speak, the things that they highlight, the things that they care about. It just never gets really portrayed because I sometimes joke around and say I'm curious to know what people are actually talking about, man. Because if it's rainbows and what's your favorite colors, like we're just wasting time here. I genuinely don't think that people are highlighting, asking people, and vetting them in the proper manner to kind of get to know them, you know. And I just think that just comes from a lack of knowing how to communicate just effectively, effectively communicating to people what you want, what you need, how you expect them to show up in your life, right? That's another thing. I ask people like, what I'm saying, how do you show up for the ones that you love? And how do you typically respond when someone can't do something for you, right? And sort of these things become the conversations of pivotal moments that we're talking about. Like, tell me about your upbringing. You know what I'm saying? How were you raised? What are your value systems of your family? You know what I'm saying? Do you still adhere to those? Like, what are you really looking for out of dating? Like, people are not really engaging and digging deep. So when we're talking about digging deep, we're talking about removing all the fluff off the table and really getting down to the meat and bones, because unfortunately a lot of people are just spinning the block, you know what I'm saying, making complaints about their baby mama and all these other things. And unfortunately the biggest pivotal of where we are today is that people just don't know how to effectively communicate anymore. How are you?
All right.
I
What's the
think
next?
like I think patience too. Like, I mean, based on your experience, I feel like once you've been married and you've been in a long term relationship and you go out there and dating, you don't have patience. And you have to have patience, but it's hard to have patience for like bare minimum to get to that point when you've had something so at a certain level, you just be like, all right, that's how date. I think when you look at dating that way, sometimes you can be pessimistic when you've had something else, and you're starting over, you're trying something different. You are kind of, having certain requirements because you've had something so much better, something higher. You've had protection, you've had leadership, you've had all of that, and then you get out here in the dating and you see someone, they doing the bare minimum and they just think they just king. You just be like, really? And maybe that's me. You know what I'm saying? Like, maybe it could just be me as an individual, but I just really think that dating. Like what he just said. I want to talk about real stuff. Like, let's really get deep into stuff. Like, what you want to do. You like what Hank said, what's your credit score? But some people just think entertaining the whole time is part of courting, and it's not. I like to be at home watching movies, chilling, having drinks, smoke, do things like that. Some guys and women, they just got to be out the house all the time. And I've learned that, just with friends that I've met, females that date and guys that date and the ones that I've dated, I just be like, why is it everybody want to be out the house all the time? Like, why you don't got to spend money all the time? So I just get disinterested, because it's like, you know what? I'm used to being in a relationship and being in a certain way, and this out here in the streets is not working for me. So maybe that's why I'm playing games with people, Hank.
One of the things you can't teach is patience, but relationships do require them. Any relationship, it doesn't have to be romantically. Um, and you got to also like communicate that. So if you're feeling some things, you have to have a conversation. At least have a conversation. I think that that's fair for both sides. Fair for you, fair for the relationship, and fair for the other person to have a
But how do you
conversation.
have a conversation without making them like? I feel really uncomfortable like talking to a man about something that I feel like he should already know, or that he should
Well,
already like pick up on. So how do you
well,
do that without making him feel like don't talk down to me, don't disrespect? Like, how do you do that?
well, the thing is that you can't assume. You can't assume everybody knows everything. You got to look at yourself. We all are flawed, right? So there's probably something that you can do better just as much as he can do better. But without having that conversation, you don't get the understanding portion of it to see if it's something that somebody's willing to sacrifice or compromise on. So the correct thing to do, in my opinion, and I always go off a spectrum, which side of the spectrum you want to be on, the more pro side or the con side. It seems fair to assess based off how the world works and how we view it and look at it that if you have a conversation, you give it a fair chance, a fair opportunity. That's the least you can do. And then I'm okay with you making that decision. But when people assume their actions are, they move off emotion. And then when you move off emotion, sometimes the logic is left out of that. And that emotion may stem from past trauma, bad relationships. You might have just been dating somebody that might have went bad. So you have to kind of be a little bit self-aware of who you are and how that can sometimes self-sabotage the relationship. But you have to be fair. Always apply logic and not the emotion. And sometimes if you understand who you are and you know that you're a firecracker, just sit back for a second and just think everything over. Even run some things past somebody to see if you can possibly get to a place where it all makes sense. But a lot of times the older you get, the worse it gets because we got all this failed experience. We trying to make sure we get what we want. Our standards are raised, our guards are up, and then people are not moving genuinely at that time because now they're moving and looking at everybody as potential enemies. So that's why I think that you really have to understand that communication, dating, all this stuff is complicated, but it doesn't have to be. It's only complicated because you're making it complicated. These are things that everybody can achieve because there are people that are achieving and getting the results. But you just got to be fair and honest of like what it is. And you can't carry the same mindset that you had with that bad relationship. You cannot carry it over to your future because you're going to keep getting the same result. And sometimes it's us. When I say us, meaning you, us, me, and I've had to do it myself. But that's a part of life. Life is going to be up and down. Life is going, it's meant for you to understand who you are. And every situation is going to be different. Every person is going to be different. So even if you date somebody and you think you got it all figured out, and then this person comes and brings something else out of you, he's challenging you a different way. But some people don't like challenges. Some people are afraid of change. Some people don't want to get uncomfortable. And sometimes uncomfortable can be a good thing. But you got to have that mindset. Everybody always look at the negative, but they don't understand the positive. I always look at negative situations and see what can I find that's positive in it. Because even when a woman is emotions, and I've said this before to people, like emotions can be a good thing with a woman. Those are some of the most loyal people that it is. And I have an understanding that if you're at the age of 40, you've gone through some experiences. But that don't mean you got to turn your camera off when I'm talking because they don't know if I'm talking to you. I'm gonna go ahead and land my plane because you went out here to cut me off. I don't even talk that
I
much.
was taking my hat off and I didn't.
You can let
I
that
was trying
cap
to make
on
sure I was
for
keeping my hat
another
off.
20 seconds, Chanel. But yeah. Anyhow, let's go ahead and go to Ramey. Let's get Ramey in there. And then let's get Kelly. I got another clip that I want to play, man. So I'll play it after the next two people. And it'll still add to the conversation that we already have.
Okay. I think I don't know, y'all all just touched on some really, really fired things. I think just going back to why we sometimes I think have like such a hard time communicating. I think sometimes people's egos get in the way sometimes, and it keeps you from actually hearing what another person is saying. Like a lot of people can take stuff personally. You just never know what will trigger somebody. You know what I mean? So I do think it has a lot to do with ourselves always. As we continue to grow and raise our vibration, we're gonna attract things at different levels, right? Because like most of y'all can probably say just from hearing you guys speak, you're progressive in growth, right? So you're not the same person you were 6 months ago, 3 months ago. Some people might not be the same person from last week. And I'm saying that to say, with that, you may draw things into you, people into experiences into you, and it is going to be about knowing yourself. But I think the key is, and Kelly, you said this, I think, well, we all talked about this. Kelly, I remember you saying patience, like being able to see a person over a time span, because at the end of the day, I could sit here and tell you what I need, what I expect, my standards, all it is. But I'm not here to popcorn date, right? Forever is a long time if we're talking about people who want to be married or, do the long haul with a person, so sometimes, and especially, and honestly, the people you said, I'm a fire sign. I am a firecracker. And that's one of the things that I've had to learn in dating and evolving is to just slow down a little bit because man, everybody loves that feeling that you get in your gut when you're talking to somebody and you just hitting it off and all of the good things. But that spark and that time, it means something. I don't know where you came from. You don't know where I came from. You don't know all the experiences and all the things that I feel like sometimes they don't reveal themselves until somebody's angry, until somebody's, sad, until somebody's dealing with loss and heartache, from their family and things like that. So, I just think patience, especially if a person is intending to continue, like intending to grow gradually, continually grow, I'm trying to say. Patience, because you got to see if a person is even being able to keep up with you on that pace. And like somebody, like Lapeef said, maybe somebody don't grow. Maybe they always want to be just get cool with what they doing. You know what I mean? And that's gonna be unequally yoked. You know what I mean? Having nothing to do with material. So I'm just saying that to say, that's what I just took away from what everybody was saying. Just having that patience in society when everything is so microwave and popcorn. I today we should be getting married tomorrow. And shout out to the people that happens for, you know what I'm saying? In a short time, you just know, and you go the long haul. But when somebody sits down with me, wants to get to know me, you're right, it should have been some investments well before that. So we're not even talking about how to build and we're not doing that type of conversation. We out here genuinely enjoying each other when we outside, because we've had enough inside to know we get along. And I think also, just to add and finish what you say, let me land my plane. I think what changed in dating is, I remember back, when a dude could pull up on you, and hear me out, right? Like, somebody could pull up and y'all might sit on the stoop and talk. Y'all might sit out, and it doesn't have to do with who's dressing up and how much I spent to get ready and how much you spent on paying for the meal. It wasn't all of that. I just was able to talk to you about your day in person. I'm seeing your body movement, your language. I'm able to physically set my eyes on you, and you can set your eyes on me. And I think with Instagram, all this instant gratification behind posting a picture. Now you got likes and you getting attention, all of the things that come with social media. If we want to, I think, have quality stuff, we probably just need to slow it down and find safe spaces where we can meet up that everybody's comfortable until we decide we want to invest more.
Technology changed things.
Technology definitely changed things. It with you saying that, Rami, that was genuinely the way that you got to know someone, and that was while we had those conversations back in the day. And I understand what Hink was saying. I do. But we weren't talking about what you brought to the table. We talked about what's your dreams, what's your passions, what are you into, what's some of your favorite experiences, your favorite memories, who's your favorite person, what's your favorite color. That's when we had those conversations. But now, since everyone relationships have been influenced by social media, we have what you bring to the table. Oh, I ain't going to you can't take me to Cheesecake Factory. I ain't no Cheesecake Factory bitch. Like, it's crazy. Even the rhetoric with the men, oh, the juice ain't worth the squeeze. Well, I get all of that, but how can you genuinely build a relationship with a person if you start off like that? Nothing about it is authentic. So you're not going to have an authentic relationship. We got so caught up into listening to other people's baggage and reasoning as to why their relationship didn't work. That does not work across the board. You know what I'm saying? It's all about what it is that you invest into it. What are you willing to invest into it? Because that's the only way you're going to receive something out of it. Will you get your heart broke? Possibly. But that's part of building a relationship with somebody.
Yeah. Well, that's a choice, though. That's a choice you make. You don't have to buy into everything what people say. I promise you, I don't buy into half the shit y'all say. I don't. I go off of what I know and what I believe, and whatever my standards are. That's how you should, as a man. That's how we should move and operate. Ladies too. I don't go by what people say. Look, if I want to have a conversation with a woman, I'm gonna sit there and talk to her. I'm not gonna go back and forth via text because I'm not gonna get anything out of it. I get more if I actually have a conversation and I hear your beautiful voice, or I see you in person. I don't want to FaceTime you. That's not doing anything for me. If I can roll up on you, go to your house, and we can sit down and have a conversation on the couch. Like with Chanel's conversation, she talking about, well, he takes me out every day. How about you sit there and say, baby, I don't feel like going out to dinner tonight. How about we sit at home and just sit on this couch and just have a glass of wine and talk? I don't give a damn what we talk about. We could talk about anything.
Why are you acting like I don't know how to communicate that?
I didn't say you didn't. You said that.
Oh, okay. No, I'm not. I didn't know if you were giving me advice right now or just using the conversation.
I got you, man. I got you. I know it's a thing, and that's cool. I see what's going on. He don't interrupt none of you motherfuckers, but y'all love to interrupt me. Somebody call me a goddamn barbarian. Shame on you. Shame on
But
you,
you
Kevin.
are.
Am I? Or am I
Yes,
just a man who
sir.
tells the truth? And some people just can't handle how I say it. Maybe you need your goddamn dad in your life, and I didn't have to do it like this. He wouldn't sound like a barbarian. He sound like a man who's concerned and wants your best interest at heart, not a
Well,
barbarian.
who said something was wrong
falling.
with being barbaric? You said that.
Sound like no.
We didn't say
Y'all
nothing was
make it
wrong
sound
with
like
that.
a bad thing. Y'all make it sound like it's a bad thing. When you constantly call me a barbarian, now it's been said. It sounds like it's not a good thing. Sound like it's a problem, but I don't care. My wife likes it, and that's the only woman that matters to me. At the end of the day, that's the only woman that matters to me. She's okay with it. She sees that leadership. She understands that structure. She understands that discipline. She understands what I bring to the table, and I present it to her. I presented my plan. She was okay with it, and I invested. We had conversation. She lived all the way in Texas, Dallas, Texas. But guess what? I'm not texting her. I'm talking to her. And when I want to see her, I fly down or I bring her here. That's what we do. We interact. We have conversation. Some people are scared to have a conversation. Some people open your mouth sometime. Talk. Fellas, pay attention and listen. Get all the intel you need. This ain't the first one. It's not going to be the last time I say this. Speak. Have them conversations. Have them hard conversations. Don't be worried about what the result's gonna be, what she gonna say. If she says something that you don't agree with, keep it moving. You leave her at the restaurant. You don't keep investing more and more into for what? You think it's gonna change? No, that's who she is. That's her character. That's her person. That's who she is. Let her be. You need to make the decision. Whether you want to continue to invest in this heifer, or are you gonna leave her where she lay?
Are you gonna leave
Yeah,
at the
Hank.
restaurant? Dang.
Hank, I don't disagree with you at all. Just the unfortunate part that, you having to say that just tells me where the state of men are today in terms of their personal confidence, right? Just having the confidence to walk up to someone and spark up a conversation, ask them how they're doing, you know, buy them a drink, whatever that you might be in a public setting. I just find that the more and more I tend to hear is that level of confidence is gone. It's what maybe it's not gone, but it's diminishing, right? And sort of, I don't know what has happened. Like I get that things like this has changed, right? But I don't. I still go outside. I still go outside. I still go out to eat. I still pull up at certain spots. There's some spots I don't show up for like a couple months, and I pull up, and the owner knows me, and we have a conversation, and he's like, I don't know what to do, Lou. He's like, why? He's like, the women come through here all the time, and we just don't get enough fellas. They keep saying like, where the men at? Like they're not outside. These dudes are not outside. I keep telling you. I had this conversation back during the summer. I talked to 3 different people. I went out to this one spot. It was full of women. I'm talking like almost like 85%, 90%. No dudes to be inside. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of dudes are just not outside. They're not in the clubs. They're not in lounges. They're not at these brunch spots. They're not in these high areas where a lot of women tend to congregate. Now, there is a subsection of men that are outside, constantly outside, because they can't afford to be outside. You know what I'm saying? They're just moving a little different. But I think the most average of most men or slightly above average, they're just not outside in these other types of spaces. So I'm just curious where these people are congregating and where they're having conversations, because they can't only just be online. Like,
Jail.
Say again?
Jail.
That is true. I mean, there are men in jail. I mean, look, let's be very honest. If we took a huge pool of men and we removed all the men who are in jail or convicts, if we remove all the men who are bat for the other team, and we remove the men who have no aspirations of life or whatever, we're looking at a small pool. And then that doesn't even get into the other, whether he's light skinned, dark skinned, whether he has college education, whether he holds a job, whether he owns a house. Now we're just dwindling. In terms of the bar of performance, you're going to start to see, you know, a very small pool of very highly competitive men like that. Now, I think in terms of the other men, I fear for them, because what is happening is that there's a narrative that is being created in society that they don't matter. And I think that's very dangerous. I understand that we are trying to overcorrect for the wrongs that we have uh placed on women. And when we say we say men. And then when I say men, I'm talking about white society, because let's be honest, up to a certain point, black people didn't really have that kind of power to pass certain policies that would alienate certain subgroups of people. So when we're looking at this very closely, we've overcorrected with DEI. We've overcorrected with all these things that when I was tutoring and teaching during the summer programs, my highest percentage of the students that came through were girls. It was 80 to 85% of girls, right? And this other percentage were boys. And then when I looked at the percentage of black and boy girls, that was only 40%, and there were no black boys available. You know, like they need to be in these kinds of spaces, being engaged in certain areas, but that's not happening. You know, there was just a report on the news a week ago about how kids in Baltimore are not even reading at grade level. They're below grade level. These kids are in the 8th grade and don't even read on the 4th grade level. Like this should be the most alarming thing to go off in America. Not that Diddy shit. Fuck that Diddy shit. This right here needs to be the number one thing that sounds off the fire alarms, because I just don't understand where our priority as a nation and as a community. In the next 6 to 5 years, these people are going to be out on the streets with the rest of us in society, working, driving cars, and moving about. How do I know, or how can I confidently move that we are producing confident, competent, and well-to-do citizens that are going to be out here contributing to society, and they don't even meet the minimum bar? You talk about minimum effort. How can you expect them to have high effort when their educational prospect is as low as hell? Right? When society has this entire narrative that we're going to hoist the young girls, you know what I'm saying, over the young boys. And mind you, don't get me wrong, I love what the young girls are doing, but unfortunately, we're forgetting our young men. And as a byproduct and result, we're not able to pair those young women, those young girls who later become grown women, with paired, well-to-do, well-educated, well-established men as well. The imbalance is huge. This is why a lot of these women are out here, you know, struggling and dating the same type of guys. Because unfortunately, we're just not really prioritizing that. We've overcorrected through social engineering, and this is the result and the byproduct that we've created.
Yep. I'm gonna go play this other clip, man. Some news just broke too. Well, I guess we'll find out what happened tomorrow, but this is the news that just broke. NYC Mayor Eric Adams
looking at that.
indicted on federal criminal charges following federal corruption investigation. So we don't know what it is. We'll find out tomorrow. They says Thursday. That's what it be, but that is breaking news. Interested to hear what that's
Get him out of here.
I bet it's something with the migrant shit.
Give him the boot.
All right, let me go ahead and play this clip.
Are growing until they looks at 35. You ain't been handsome your whole life. Now you finally learned to grow a beard and keep your waves and shit together, and now you're able to stick. No, seriously though, they're able to have access to women now that they never had access to. So I might meet you, you might be the shit, but I can't even take you serious because now I have options and I feel as if I'm missing something.
No, and I agree with that, especially for men who come into money.
A lot of these men are growing until they looks at 35. You ain't been handsome your whole life. Now you finally learned to grow a beard and keep your waves and shit together, and now you're able to stick. No, seriously though, they're able to have access to women now that they never had access to. So I might meet you, you might be the shit, but I can't even take you serious because now I have options and I feel as if I'm missing something.
No, and I agree with that, especially for men who come into money.
It, I'm glad he said that too. Just going back to the first video that we saw, that was one of the things that she said early on too. Social media has made it so that people believe that they have a shit ton of options. And it's like those options that you think you have is the exact type of person that you don't want to be with. So that as well adds to the making dating so complex now. Having a relationship with a person should not be difficult. But because people have this idea that they have options, and it's important for a person to have confidence in themselves. But man, if you find that one, I believe if you find that one that checks the boxes, it works, y'all have good conversations, and go ahead and lock it down. We speak so badly about marriage, and I think that this is a big influence as to why our kids are reading at a third grade level and they in fucking high school. It's because there's no family structure. There's no structure. Relationships, man, woman, and child, that's the holy trinity. That is the structure that every society has been built on. So for us to step away from that, of course we're gonna have everything that's happening right now happen because it's being ignored. The basics of life and understanding is going out the window. So now everyone is in anarchy and chaos. And that's why we see exactly what we see going on now.
So that responsibility is on parents. It's not on the kids. It's not.
That's on the child too. We can't take away the accountability of children. Once you understand what is right and what is wrong, you take on that accountability. Yes, your parents play a huge role. Your environment absolutely plays a tremendous role. But at the end of the day, you still have that choice and decision to either go this way or go that way. Your parents can do everything right. But if you make that decision to do something that goes against what your parents taught you, then that's on you. That's not on the parents. That's on that child. And I think that our biggest problem is that we took away the accountability for children to just let them do whatever the fuck they want to do. Real quick, I used to coach high school wrestling. And I took some time off, came back maybe like 3-4 years later. It's a completely different group of children. Their mentality is completely different. I was blown away by it. They allowed for this young man that transferred from another school to get on the mat with another school's warm up on while he's practicing there. From a coach's perspective, that's something that you cannot do. That if you was on the streets, if that was some street shit, then we whooping your ass type shit. You off count, you in violation. That's a no-go. But due to the fact that we have to baby these children that's going into adulthood, we have to baby them and make them feel comfortable and all of this other shit, much rather than teaching them the morality of loyalty, being committed to this thing and showing respect. We had to baby them because we don't want to piss him off and then piss the parents off. So we can't take away the accountability of these kids, because that's why we got 13, 14-year-olds running around with switches, robbing people cars, carjacking people, because nobody is going to hold them accountable.
Yeah, but
So
the parents are raising these kids.
I think you said something interesting, Viz, where you were talking about how relationships shouldn't be that difficult. But I think one thing that we overlook in modern times is why relationships are so difficult. I think is yes, social media gives a false sense of options, but I think in general there are more options. Like in the times when marriage was more successful, that was also a time where there was no other type of relationship to have. It was you meet somebody, you get to know each other, then you got married. Now, because of the concept of a quote unquote relationship, and because that can be completely defined by whatever those two people feel, there's a million options of how you can be with somebody. A million. You can be with a person in any way you want, and I think we overlook the impact of that on marriages and all of that just to begin with. You can't give people the option to do whatever they want in any format they want, then wonder why they're not picking this particular option. The only reason that particular option was so successful and popular before is because it was the only option. That's how you had sex. That's how you had a relationship. You met them, you got in a relationship, and that's the only way society accepted your relationship. Unfortunately, guys, I keep saying this, and I'm gonna keep saying it. Like, unfortunately, we have to come to the point where we accept that is no longer the case. Men can be women in this generation. Women can be men in this generation. A man and a woman can be in a throuple. I mean, in a couple with another man and a woman. And I know we don't want to accept that, but that's part of the reality. So I think that the solutions have to be catered to the reality we're living in, because I think when we think of the solutions, it's often like a nostalgia. Like, let's go back to when marriage was so perfect, and it's like it's not happening. Like it's we're already past that. There's a new way to form a relationship each day, and I think it's more about figuring out how people can have the skills to have healthy relationships in general, more than particularly focusing on marriage.
Cloud, I know I've been talking a lot, but Cloud, I would have to disagree with that.
Really?
I would have to disagree, because if your values of whatever marriage, relationships, that a man can't have a baby, like, it's the fact that we're in America, you have the option to make that choice. And you have that option to be amongst a group of people that also believe in those things. So I'm not going to change my morality to
That's not what I'm suggesting. Just so you know
that's kind of what it sounds
no,
like.
No. I'm saying to change your solutions. Like your morality can stay the same, but the solutions
shouldn't stay.
Are applying to a world. You're trying to apply moral solutions to a world that doesn't share your morality, which is why it doesn't connect. The solutions have to be catered to the world that we're in. Unfortunately, that's just what it is. The world that we're in, there are a lot of options besides marriage. And as long as those options exist, a plethora of options, as long as those options exist, marriage is not going to be as popular. It just is what it is.
So there's what, 6 point something billion people on this planet. All I need is one person that agrees with the same solution that I do. I don't. A person should not have to conform to the world. The Bible teaches us that. So if it's something, I think that I understand what you're saying, but at the same time, with people having the mentalities, the mindsets that they have now, to tell people to be okay with that, I think that does more danger than help for the ones that actually appreciate those things, or at least give hope to the people that believe in that. So I understand what you're saying.
It's about acknowledging why it's happening. It's about acknowledging the condition that we're in. That's really all it's about.
Why give a fuck?
Why give a fuck? I mean, that's why we're having a conversation, because we're talking about ways to better the community as a whole. And if people are having multiple different options as far as relationship, but the skills that we're teaching people for what a healthy relationship is are all related to marriage, then we're going to miss a lot of people. There's going to be a lot of people who aren't going to learn healthy relationship skills because
that's
they're going to
part of life, bro.
But what I'm saying is, the only way to have a healthy relationship is not being married. That's not the only way to have a healthy relationship. And I think if we keep continuing to push that idea in this modern time, we're going to miss the opportunity to educate a lot of people on how to have a healthy relationship. And I'm going to land there.
Go ahead, Ramy. You got to come off mute.
I think so. I kind of get what you're saying, like as far as cloud, and again, stop me if I'm wrong. you're saying basically like there are so many different forms of relationship, right? Like you're right. There's polygamy going around. There's people who support that. There's, I mean, monogamy. You know, there are people who support that. But I feel like at the end of the day, you're right. It is about relationships and how to relate to another person in general, or to people in general. And I think the solutions do need to be tailored around connectivity in general. Now, I do believe that there are a lot of us who intend to, I mean, that's why we all here, right? Because we're talking about love. We want to connect. We want to, come together. But I don't think it even go as deep as those other relationships, right? With the different titles and stuff like that, because we do have to get the fundamentals together first, if that makes sense. Now, if that leads to marriage, if that leads to having a polygamous, at least you understanding how men think versus how women think versus, you know what I'm saying? You can have those conversations together, because you're right. We're not gonna be able to touch everybody's relationship. And frankly, I'm not trying to touch everybody's type of relationship. You know what I mean? But I think that just goes into like for instance, if I'm at work, I don't talk about politics. I don't talk about, LGBT. I don't get into those type of conversations because it's such a broad spectrum. But I think at the end of it, or at the beginning of it, I should say, it is foundational. Relating to other people, being able to listen, actively listen. But you're gonna have a few people like he will be like, no, it's like this, and this is just how it is, period. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just throwing that out there because I feel like that's what these forums are for, because there are people who won't relate to Hink and be like, that's how men should think, period. There gonna be people who relate to what I'm saying and be like, man, I'm more, with the change in times and now I have to adjust, so I don't know. I don't think it has to go as deep as other people's types of relationships, but I do think it has to have some type of fundamental understanding of how to connect with another person, how much time you should take before you just jump in something that's polygamous or monogamous. You know what I'm saying? Like, check that thing out before because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about not wrecking our hearts no more as people.
Right. To elaborate, yeah, like the way I'm looking at it is like this. I'm not saying that people shouldn't be married and all that, but what I'm saying is like, sometimes we focus on people saying, oh, let's get married. This is what a healthy relationship looks like. Well, there are married couples where the husband's beating the wife. So what's more important? Is it more important that they're married, or is it more important that they have a loving relationship? Same with the kids. Like, is it more important that the parents care for the children and are around and teach them things and educate them and are patient with them and kind with them? Or is it more important that the parents are together? I mean, I feel as though sometimes we just focus on the letter of the law sometimes and not on the spirit of the law. What's really important is that if two people are coming together, especially to make children, that those people know how to deal with each other with love, especially in front of the children. And I feel like we miss that. We focus so much on, well, are they married? Are they not married? Well, that they could be married with no love and they're not helping society anymore. And they could be unmarried with plenty of love and produce much happier, much more well-adjusted children to society. And I think that that's what we're really focused on. We're focused on the end goal of making society better, not just arbitrarily raising the marriage numbers. We only want to raise the marriage numbers.
That has to do with broken homes, Clout.
We associate culturally marriages with a better society. But what I'm saying is, in modern times, that's not necessarily true anymore. So I'm just saying maybe we need to focus on how we relate more than just the specifics of, okay, more people are getting married, there's less divorces. Yeah, but are people loving one another? Like, generally, like, are people treating each other kindly and well and helping each other and caring for one another? Because if everybody's married but they beating on each other, don't mean nothing.
But
See, I think that's why a lot of the
that's a
women
part
are
of
not
the.
wanting to have kids either.
Okay.
Because
I've
going
been
forward,
quiet for a long time. I
My
just
bad,
want y'all to
y'all.
know, JR, have you been peeping how quiet I've been sitting? Please give me props for that.
10
Thank
mics on, Miss
you.
Taken.
Hands. I need the cheers. Where's the sound effects?
Don DeMarco.
Okay.
Can I add a comment behind Cloud to what he just said? Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I'm just taking notes because I've been sitting there. So y'all gotta give me a little more than 2 minutes. All right. No. Okay. One of the first things that we were talking about was the dating and how I think y'all was saying that dating should be simple and things like that. And I think that is part of the problem is that we're looking at dating as a game, right? Oh, it's supposed to be simple. It's supposed to be fun and da. But if you're dating with intention, it shouldn't be simple, right? It should be a process of like intense, thought, intense, like, screening, all of those things. Like when you're trying to hire people for a job, you have a job description, you know exactly what it is you're looking for. It's a serious process. So I shouldn't, waste my time on giving people opportunities that I already know that don't have the skill set for the job, right? That's something serious because you want to be able to have somebody that is going to be there for the long term, right? So I think that's part of where I think dating has changed. Speaking to a little bit with what Clout was saying, is that before when you dated and then got married because in that environment everybody understood the assignment, right? Which was to have a family, like just follow that structure of the that time period back then. um I also would put that when you are more mature you should know what you want and what you're looking for. So that should be kind of like in that first video that we saw. I think that's what was a reflection of what we saw, is that her level of maturity and, with older age should come wisdom. And I think she had a clear set on what it is that she was looking for, which you should, men and women both. The other thing is, as more mature you are, the more strategic you should be in who you're choosing and how you're dating. And because people will waste your time if you allow them, especially if they're benefiting from your time. So you as a person have to be the timekeeper. And a way to be the timekeeper is to keep your standards up front and center and making sure that you're aligning whoever you're dating along with that. And if they're not, then you move on. Like, what are we wasting time for? Um, but the caveat to that too is also patience, which you guys brought up. And patience is important because things are always revealed in time, right? So if you're trying to rush that process, you may miss certain things and then it comes out later on. Let me see. So that, an example of that, like I know Hank was giving us an example. I don't know if it was true, but if he believes it or not. Like he's like, by the third date, you're gonna be giving me your credit score. I need to know your credit score and stuff. That might be true. I know, Hank, that's probably true. But as an example, I think things have to happen in timing too, right? Even within intentions, you need enough time to kind of see a person's character and learn certain things about them. I think Rami has said about the microwave, dating or what have you. I think that's part of that too. Like certain things that are personal, I need to enough time to get to know your character to see if I can trust you to reveal certain things that are very personal, right? And then somebody else has said something, I can't remember who, but I had wrote that there's a difference between, Viz, you was talking about more, I think you and Clout were talking about morals. Um, I do think there's a difference between respecting and accepting. I can respect you, but I don't have to accept your lifestyle, your belief system, your political stance, all of those things, but I could still respect you. Um, I think a person should stand firm in their beliefs and what their morals are, what their standards are, and just find that tribe who stands on that same thing. The problem comes is when you're trying to enforce your standards, your belief, your morals on other people who is not about that. And then, you still try to interact and build relationship with them when you shouldn't, right? And that wastes time too. Um, Last one. Um, Trying to because we were talking about, I think Clout said something about tradition and like holding on, to stuff when things are different. And I actually agree with him. On Monday, I was on Humble Dad show, and that was something that we talked about, where people sometimes get caught up in tradition and continue to do the same thing, where the old tradition doesn't necessarily work in a new environment. When you have an environment in an era which things were set up a certain way, those traditions worked. Whereas now, the environment and the era that we're in, the generation that we're in, is totally different. So those traditions, while they are important, there is a different way in which they need to be expressed. So when we're talking about typically when we say men protectors and providers, when you're talking about the 60s and below, 50s, 40s, 30s, right? The protection and provision literally were physical things. Like they go get a job, they pay the bills, they protect the family from, we'll say lions, tigers, and bears, right? But in this environment now, when we're in a generation where women are in a position where they can make their own money, right? So they can provide their own financial provision, right? Back in the day, that's what provision meant: house, car, money, stuff like that. Women didn't have bank accounts. So that environment was set up for women to rely on men, right? Where this generation is not. So that tradition is going to look totally different. The expectations that women are going to have of men now are going to be totally different. And that's where I think the emotional piece come in. And that's where we're bumping heads, because men are stuck on the old idea of what tradition is and being with a woman, versus now women are expecting something different.
In that right there lies where the collision is happening, right? Like women have evolved, past what the frame of thinking or teaching that most men operate on, and they're just not aligning. They're not aligning, on a political sense, and not aligning on a spiritual sense. I mean, there's a lot of men who are not in the church. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of men who, um, find entertainment, enjoying in other things outside of the entertainment of social media, the gossip, and all these other things, unfortunately. And I think that there has to be a larger conversation with both sides at some point. I mean, you actually hit on something really interesting that I really did like, mistaken. And I was kind of curious about it. Do you think that parents at an early age should have some sort of like parental oversight in conversation about how they should date, the things that they should talk about? I mean, I know we've talked about like the things that we teach our kids, but like really, really, really hammer it down, because if we understand what's happening out here, and by the time they get to a certain age and things have you change and evolve, and let's say it's just going down for the worse, how are we preparing them to navigate that in the dating area, right? Like,
I,
how are we?
from what I see working with, students and actually parents, is just like I think is a reflection of what we see now when we were talking about communication, right? There's a lack of communication even with adults. Adults don't know how to talk to their children. And children naturally, when they get, especially teenage, they kind of pull away from adults. And it's easier because if you didn't establish communication and connection with your kids when they're young, is easier to really not know who the hell they are once they become teens. I do think it's very important to instill certain morals and values and stuff in your kids, because it gives them something to align with. Even though they don't want to talk to you, they know what they've been taught. And I think we have not invested enough in our children to teach them. And then we put that responsibility on the school system to do it. And then get frustrated with the school system because the school system is teaching them things that you didn't want them to know. But had you been a parent to begin with, then regardless of what the school is saying, your child has a knowledge base from what they were raised in, right? So, but one of the things I know,
That's
like
not
in
a
Muslim
that's not
tradition,
100% effective though.
the Muslim, like if you're Muslim, Jehovah Witnesses, what I can appreciate, I had was a coworker with Jehovah Witness, and when they are dating, even as grown people, they never date one-on-one ever. They date in groups. So the focus of the dating is to see if this is going to be a good mate or a good match for marriage. So their whole purpose is dating with intent. I believe Muslims are, similar to that as well. I think what
So,
happened with
but
us, we
mistaken, do
move
you
from
think
that.
that should change? Because what you just said when you agree with Clout is that those traditions don't work in this modern time.
Yes, I did, but I wasn't specifically speaking to that tradition. I do think it's important for people to be, and I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I do think it's important for other people to be involved in the dating. If the focus of the dating is to be married. Now, if you're just dating F, then that's something totally different. Then do however you're gonna do. But when people have emotions involved and there's attraction involved and physical, attraction involved, sometimes the red flags are overlooked, right? So having other people that have your best interests at heart and also have the same mindset of dating with the purpose, with the intent to get married, they may see things that you won't see and are able to kind of bring it up to you and question that, right? Make you reflect on that. So I do think it's important to have other people involved in that process. And I think that's a tradition that would be very helpful because it could help minimize the damage that men and women both go through with trying to go at it on their own without having any sense of direction.
Mistaken. We make every single trend and every single thing a popular movement, but that we make everything trendy, everything a movement, but that the things that would benefit us in our next of kins, in our loved ones, in the long term, in our community, in the longer term, to kind of undo these, past insurrections that we've messed up. We don't make those things trend, or we don't make those things popular, or we don't have a larger mic unless it's like supported by somebody who's a figurehead, right? It doesn't really reaches the masses. So this is really something that has to be grassroots. Has to start at the first. Has to start at your house. Like Mike, like Trigger Mike used to say, fix the family first, and then from there, you know, be aligned with people who are doing the same thing, and then be in community with those people, and those people become a larger people. It has to start off small, and then it has to spread across. Because unfortunately, you're not going to reach everybody. You're going to have a lot of opposition in the beginning because a lot of people still want to operate doing whatever they want. I have no problem with freedom. The problem is that people who have too much freedom and too much time on their hand have very poor discipline and poor time management with how they move and who they associate themselves with. Oh yeah.
The idle mind is the devil's playground. A lot of what you guys was saying was actually one of the points that Cam Newton was making with that one doctor that he spoke with. You know, that everybody was up in arms about, that she ate him up and all that other shit. One of the things that he was asking her is who are the married couples, successful married couples that you are influenced by or surrounded by, that helps to impact who it is that you're choosing in your decision. And she gave, even though she did answer it, people were still ignoring what it was that he was saying, that what he was saying. If you're looking for marriage, you should be in a circle of married people, not in a circle of single people, because the influence is going to be completely different. The conversation is going to be completely different. A relationship that you have with someone while you're single is going to be completely different from when you're married, because when you're married, this is a commitment. We're committed to this. So we have to figure this out. We got to work through those hard times. But now, with everyone being single, people wanting to be single, people hanging around single people, and they want to have these serious relationships, but they're hanging around people that think like single people. So it's a situation of where and how can we build this muscle to be able to endure this type of relationship that you made a commitment to. And if you're not surrounding yourself around that, and you watching Bad Girls Club and Zeus, and you listening to Fresh and Fit and all of these motherfuckers that goes and speaks against the very essence of a solid and healthy relationship, then how can you have one? So we have to. I think that that's actually a good thing. Mistaken, if that is a part of it, then it makes all the sense in the world, because now we are all here on the same mission. And if I'm going through something, I feel comfortable enough with talking to this person because I'm pretty sure that they went through it. You know, so community is everything, and we have to take that serious. But in the Black community, from what we see, it's so much anarchy and chaos. So me personally, I will not conform to that. I'm going to find my group of people that I agree with, and I'm going to surround myself with those people. So if you want something out of life, whatever it may be, success, wealth, health, a healthy relationship, you have to go about the formula that has been put in place since the beginning of time, of how they say birds of a feather flock together. So if you are amongst people that are miserable, you're going to be the next person that's miserable too.
I think that makes a lot of sense, right? Here's where I would just give a little pushback. The thing is that I think what you're saying applies in a time where there's a universal idea of what the institution is, right? So there was a time where when you mentioned marriage, everyone knew what that meant. That meant that the man was working. That meant that the wife was at home. That meant that the children were raised at home. That meant that the children stayed at home until they got married, right? Today, that's not, everybody's marriage isn't even the same. Married people don't even agree on what marriage is today. So we're trying to get people on one accord with an institution that the people who are in the institution don't even agree on. Is the husband the breadwinner? Is the woman supposed to be the breadwinner? Before, it was clear cut because women didn't work, men worked. So we knew that for a marriage to work, the man had to provide, the woman had to take care of the domestic things, right? But that's not the world we live in now. The women are working, and often cases making more money than the men. So who works? Who takes care of the kids? The kids are now at school. The kids are now leaving the house at 18 to go to college. You're not even raising them. So where's this legacy that we're marrying for to buy land and pass down to the children? The children half the time don't even be around their parents once they leave. So we're having these conversations about community, which conceptually is very appealing and it sounds good, but this community doesn't really exist. There is no marriage community. Married people are not on one accord, when it comes down to religion, when it comes to how they organize their relationships, when it comes down to who's paying the bills, when it comes down whether the woman should submit or not, when it comes down to who should be cooking the meals. There is literally no blueprint. There is no clear guideline or instruction for anybody. So in modern times, how is a marriage any different from a relationship? Because everybody's defining it for themselves. And that's why I was saying what I was saying before. We got to address the goal, which is, what's the goal of the relationship? It doesn't matter the format anymore because everybody's deciding for themselves. There is no standard. And I just feel like, again, we're being regressive by constantly pushing for people to conform to a standard that no longer exists.
We gotta have structure, bro. I hear what you're saying, and I agree. A lot of people have taken different routes of marriage, but there's still some type of structure to it. That was one of the words that I can't remember who said it. Luis, if you can back me up on it. Somebody said structure. Men bring structure. Mm-hmm. So if men are expected to bring structure, that has to look some type of way, however it plays out in that household. But in some way, shape, or form, it's still going to be based on that blueprint. The man, unless it's a punk, a sissy, the man is still going to be the protector. You know what I'm saying? The mother, the wife is still going to be the nurturer. Regardless, the man is still expected to teach the son how to be a man. So I get what you're saying, but it still has to be a structure, because if there's no structure, then everything will fall apart. And that is why we have the confusion now, because there's no structure. Everybody is, and I wouldn't say everybody, the loud majority are the ones that are doing what you're saying, what you're speaking on. But I personally know quite a few married couples that still go by the original blueprint. It may look a little different in order for it to work in their house, but it's still that same blueprint. And I think when we push and stray away from people being comfortable enough to literally just completely dismissing it, then that's where all of this chaos and nothing aligning happens. Because who's holding up the standard? If we're not enforcing the standard and saying, no, you can do this, but hey, look, this is what we're doing here. And I think the more that we have people say that and stand on that, then that'll be a greater impact on everyone. But when we say, oh no, it's cool. Oh no, you wanna date a blow up doll? Shit, hey man, go ahead, do your thing. Yeah, you can do that, but that's not normal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Oh, you go ahead.
I agree with it. Hold on. I just want to play this clip in there with just to add more context to the conversation. Here we go.
Was really big for us. Like women are very egotistical. We tend to allow our heads to get so big, and society has allowed it too.
Yeah.
We are now comfortable being the captain. We're not comfortable being someone that's sitting behind the captain or a co-captain.
Yeah.
We want to be the captain.
Yeah.
With stipulations that not all captain duties I have to have.
Yeah.
Like you want to be the man, but you don't want to build anything.
Right.
You don't want to fix anything.
Right.
You don't want to actually do the hard labor things that men will do
Yeah.
in order for you to have what men produce.
Right.
Precisely.
Viz, I want to kind of go back for 2 seconds and kind of add something. We need to have more multi-generational living, right? I think what we tend to see more often is, man and wife, get married, they have kids, and then they move out away from family members, community, etc. Now they live in this remote area just them and the kids, no support group, no family, no no close supportive loved ones, right? Where you live on like a compound living or a close knit
Community.
community. Like I just read an article this morning, when I got into the office, and it was talking about that. It was talking about that we don't have multi-generational living. Your grandparents living in the same home or in the same attached home, right next door to your married parents, right? You have kids who are being
Like the ownership.
babysat with their grandparents or loved ones, right? But instead they're being dropped off at daycare here, daycare over there, paying $1,500 a week. I just had a conversation with that with one of my contractors today. They're like, my sister pays $1,500 a week. A week. You know how much that adds up into a month? Like,
Yep.
That's a whole mortgage. And I'd much rather people put that into their kids' trust fund or a vehicle that they could give to their child once they become of age, right? It's just a backwards way of thinking in terms of like group economics and in close knit living. We gotta kind of entertain the idea of multi-generational living.
That's a great point, Luis, because I was actually reading something about the wealth that's in Indian families. And they're saying that one of the reasons why Indian families have so much wealth in America is because they have multi-generational living. When their kids get married, they often live in the same house or they extend the house. Like I live in New York. If you drive through Queens, all of the big, elaborate mansion-looking houses is all Indian families because when they get married, they pool their wealth, make the house bigger. They buy the house next door, and they buy out the whole neighborhood, and to the point where they have that generational wealth that they could pass down. The kids don't grow up to go get a job and go pay somebody's rent or pay somebody else's mortgage. They bring that money right back to the home, and the family continues to grow exponentially. So when it comes to structure, I think that's a perfect example of something that could provide more structure for children and for communities.
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. I'm guessing maybe that last clip might have been trash because y'all didn't really respond to it. So
I just
Yeah,
wanted to
I
say
was
something
going
real
to
quick.
ask to play it
No,
again.
No, we were trying to
I
close
had
that
something
loop.
to say about the clip.
no. Anytime I play a clip and somebody say I want to go back to that clip.
No,
But that's what they want to put it
was a
on.
little
That's
too
what it
fast,
is.
though. It was a little too fast. I was going to ask to play it again.
No. So I'm gonna switch it up a little bit, but let's just see if we can get on task with this one, man. I'm gonna play this one. That's like trash.
I do want to say though, real quick before you play that clip, I do want to say I do feel like women egos is a big issue within today's society as far as dating.
Huge.
I feel like they expect so much on the first date and just expect so much in the beginning, but it's like why? As a man, why would I spend this much on you? Why would I do what you're asking for? And there's no intentions that you feel the same way about me. You know what I'm saying? I could be a walking lick. You feel me? So it's like, let me get to know you first. Let me get to take, like really gets to know who you are as a person. But women egos be like, nah, I want this and that. And most of the women who be saying that be women who's not even worth what they're asking for. So I do feel like women egos do play a large part. And I do feel like it's because we have been provided, somewhat better job opportunities, especially during COVID. The women usually work in the call centers. A lot of guys work in physical labor places that was kind of shut down. So the women kind of was able to work from home, able to make that transition, make their money up. So I do want to say I feel like it's part of the guy's fault too, because back in the day when y'all was running the household and y'all was paying for everything, y'all have to remember y'all used to come in the house from dealing with so much discrimination and prejudice that y'all sometimes would bring that into the household, and we as women couldn't defend ourselves or speak up because we weren't allowed to own bank accounts. We weren't allowed to do anything, as much as defending ourselves. So now it's time for us. Like y'all said, most women are the breadwinners. They tend to think, oh, I am entitled to this because I'm doing better than you. I'm entitled to this because I'm making more money. And it's like two wrongs don't make a right. I'm not saying it's right, but I do feel like that's where women come into play with, the reason why some things aren't working.
I got you. Appreciate that, Dad. Welcome to the show. All right, so that's what we're gonna do, y'all. Good, Rainy? I'm just doing a well-being
Yep, I'm
check.
here.
Okay. All right, so I'm gonna play this last. This is the last topic. Then we're gonna get our ass up out of here. So let's make sure we get for participation. I'm mistaken. I can see the looking on your face. Just hang on up in there. Let's make sure if you've been talking for a long time, all the time, let's make sure we get the people that haven't been talking there first, and then y'all come in on the back end. Hink is one of the most patient brothers. He's been sitting and waiting. So let's make sure we get in there. Hink don't like to go first. So let's make sure we go to him like second or third. But for the
No, make them
talker,
go first.
make him go first. No,
Mhm.
he got. See, one thing about the panels is you kind of start to learn personnel, and he don't like to go first. He'll go first, but it's gonna be trash.
That's exactly what he be trying to wait for what other people say and then flip on them about what they say. Let him go first.
Well, I like to play out people's strength. We could probably go to Die because Die been sitting and waiting, and she's roused. So we're gonna go to Die first, then we'll probably go to Hink, and then we'll go ahead. Luis is patient, but he's not patient at the same time. I just read your body language. He be trying to get in there here. He won't cut you off, but he be wanting to get up in there and try to get some of that dialogue. I see you smile. You know exactly what I'm talking about, Luis. I pay attention. So we're gonna go ahead and play this clip. Let's get full participation in this. Let's give people their perspective, and we're gonna get up out of here. Because I know some of y'all folks gotta get up in the morning, and I appreciate the dialogue that's going on. So here we go. Let me make sure everybody's ready, because I'm not gonna play it over again. It's a 2-minute clip. Is everybody ready?
Yes.
Y'all good? Oh, Ramy just went off cam. Oh yeah, okay, all right. Here we go, y'all. And 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Because I think that relationships are made better when people are ready to be in them and not for people who are ready to have them.
Right, that's good.
Does that make sense?
That makes total sense.
I think that for me, how do you know a person is your person? I would say sacrifice. The Bible says in Romans chapter 5, verse 8, that while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. So the way you know somebody is your person is that you're willing to make the sacrifice even if they haven't made the change. I hope y'all heard what I said. Because anybody who has to change in order for you to love them isn't your person. They are just a bridge until you get to the person. And I've found in my counseling over all these years, most people are not with their person, they're with bridges. Just somebody they're climbing over till they get to the next spot. And that's why you're frustrated. And that's why you're shaky, right? Because every person that is your person, there is no way to love somebody without sacrifice. Let me just say that. If you're not sacrificing, it's not love. Love, by definition, means I have to sacrifice myself in order to do it. What did Jesus say? God so loved the world that he, okay? So you can't love without dying. That means that there is some part of your life that you are accustomed to that in order for you to be in a relationship has to die in order for you to have success. And death is hard to watch, but it is even more difficult to experience. So I believe that, and I let me say this too. You don't always fall in love at first sight. This is just, stop thinking that you're gonna meet your person, you're just gonna seem like, oh, and your eyes gonna start turning in circles. Some people in here are with people that they said they would never be with. And let me give you some advice. When you are looking for somebody, never look for somebody you can live with. Look for somebody you can't live without. You can live with anybody, but it's hard to live without the person that God has for you.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Dyson. You over there nodding your head.
He said everything on point. Like, sacrifice is a big thing, and I think I'm learning that with the current situationship I was gave y'all a little bit of detail about. And I realized I had to sacrifice, like right now, I'm learning to sacrifice my ego. I'm learning to sacrifice my pride. I'm learning to sacrifice my insecurities because I think we as, well, not we, but I'm going to speak for myself. As a woman, I tend to take the mistakes that a man makes and act like it's intentional and like it's towards me when it's really having nothing to do with me, but it's something that that person is going through. And I 100% agree. If you can't love a person at their worst, and you're just waiting for the change, are you really truly loving them? Are you truly giving them the attention that they need? Are you giving them the things that that person needs in order to grow? Or are you just trying to rush them into healing so your ego can be satisfied, so you can feel better about yourself? So sacrifice is a big thing, and I think it plays on both parts, right? The topic is about a man's worth. And I think, to me, the same way men be like, oh, I cherish the way my woman carries herself, hold herself. The sacrifice, when men sacrifice their fleshly needs for us, I think that shows another that shows a man's true value. And I think that's very important because it shows that you're spiritual. It shows that you're not thinking off the flesh. It shows that you're in tune with yourself and you know what you want. You don't have to continuously use women and sex as a way to heal yourself, because we know sex produces dopamine, and dopamine, once you have too much of it, without it, your brain starts to say, I need it, I need it. So that just means you're not mentally and emotionally regulated. So sacrifice from both ends is very, very important. And I can't stress that enough. And I think it looks different for both people, for men and women. And I think, don't worry about what the other person is sacrificing. Do your part. Figure out what it is that you need to sacrifice to make the relationship work. And then, yeah, but when you start comparing the two, like, oh, well, I sacrificed this, well, I sacrificed this, that's when a disconnection comes. So I really don't disagree with anything he said.
All right, appreciate that, Dad. Go ahead, brother Hink. It's on you, sir.
No, I agree with some of the last part. I think Dad was saying, talk about a man sacrifices himself when he's getting in a committed relationship or even a marriage. He sacrificed all the other opportunities that he possibly could have had, but he chose that you as that one individual to be with for the rest of his life. So that means any opportunity of having sex with these other women out here, he said, it's not what I need no more. That's what I want no more. He made the ultimate sacrifice. Now, some people may say, oh, well, that's not that much. Yes, it is. Because there's going to be times when you don't feel like giving that ass up. And as a man, he wants that ass. So what is he supposed to do? Well, guess what? He's going to have to go in there and take a good cold shower or get a bottle of lotion and beat himself off until you're ready to give that ass back up again. Because he made that sacrifice. He knows it's not going to be okay for me to go out there in the streets and pursue some other woman just because my woman decided not to give me some ass at night. That's not what it is. So he knows you got to make certain sacrifice in order to keep things going. Another sacrifice a man has to do is lay down his life. Sometimes, it's not his fault that certain things happen in the home, but he's got to be willing to sacrifice his pride and his ego to make sure things go accordingly. That means if his lady wants certain things, wants to do certain things, he realized, man, financially, we really can't afford it. But I'm willing to work a little overtime in order to get my woman that certain gift that she may want, that certain dress, that certain purse, or go on these certain vacations, these certain trips, or to get this woman that certain home that they know they really can't afford. But if I'm willing to make same sacrifices, then I'm willing to do that as a man. Those are some of the sacrifices a man is willing to do. But ladies, are y'all willing to make certain sacrifice? Are y'all willing to certain sacrifices, letting your ego go, letting your pride go? Some are not willing to do that. My wife, she was willing to let that thing go about other things going on around her. One pot, we presented that to her. When I presented that to her, she was like, what does that mean? She didn't have any idea, but she was willing to make that sacrifice. Why? Because she knows she got a man that she needs. Another sacrifice, woman, as you said about your pride, is Fellas, if a woman says she don't need you, don't get with her. I don't want a woman that want me. She gotta need me. And if she don't need me, that she ain't worth having. Because that lets you know she sacrificed certain things. She may have to sacrifice from some friends because she made that type statement. That one pot rule. She may have to sacrifice. Some of her friends can't understand. What do you mean? You willing to put all your money in one pot? You ain't got your no. But there's a certain level of sacrifice that you got to be willing to do. I'll leave it there.
All right, go ahead, Miss Kelly.
So I think one of the things he said, I wrote it down, but as he was saying it, I thought to myself, relationships are not hard. They're just hard with the wrong partner. I think a lot of times people struggle with the person that they're with. And it's probably because they're just with the wrong person. So this goes back to what he said in the beginning of the conversation, where he basically referred to mental readiness, emotional availability, and capacity. And I feel like adjustable women adjust. I've said this before. For example, Shawnee O'Neal was with Shaq. She lived a certain lifestyle. It didn't work out. And she got with a pastor. She adjusted to that lifestyle. We didn't know her in that world before. We saw her on Basketball Wives. We saw her sitting courtside. But for love, she adjusted to the man that she wanted to be with. So it's just, I guess, about that mental readiness. Everybody's not there. Some people really do just want to be with someone, anyone, and they have struggles in those relationships. That's it.
All right. We go to Luis and then Ramey.
Yeah, he did a really good job of breaking that down. I mean, one of the things that I just want to kind of highlight, I won't fly too long because I know a lot of people are hitting really good points, is that people understand that certain behaviors and certain things that need to die about them, that they know that there are compromises preventing them from being in a relationship, right? There are people who move in a particular type of way, conduct themselves in a particular type of way, right? That they know that there are inherent red flags and there are things that they haven't addressed or fixed, that there are huge sacrifice for them to die in order for them to evolve into the type of person someone can love, right? And pour into. And unfortunately, that's a hard thing to do because unfortunately a lot of people just are afraid to look in the mirror. That is the scariest thing that most people are afraid to do. Even I think they're more afraid of that than heights, spiders behind their bed, right? And even death itself, because it's more of a moment of reflection for you to say to yourself, I've been doing wrong. I know I've been doing wrong. And I haven't even taken the right steps in order to correct myself, in order to give myself the opportunity or fighting chance perhaps to find someone to love me or to cherish and respect me in any capacity, right? And sort of those types of things you have to identify early on, and you have to course correct and you have to kill those in order for that person to find you. I think a lot of people have found their person, whether it was at the shopping center or wherever the case may be. And because of whatever reason, they're not mentally ready because they haven't addressed that person in the mirror. So that's all I got.
All right. We'll go to Ramey then. Is
Yeah, I think that a lot of people made really good points. I just want to, I guess, piggyback on what you just said, Louis. Louise, I'm sorry, excuse me. Love is in communication, though. That was last week. And sometimes I think we can look in the mirror ourselves and say, hey, why am I having this experience? I want to experience something different, or not. But also, amongst the people that we date or that our friends, like we said, communities. I think one of the biggest places that we can start making change is in our communities. Be around people who maybe you don't always have somebody to stop you and say, yo, this is something that I think you need to change, but you can see the results that a person is having. You can see, you know, oh, these people are doing what I want to experience. Let me go learn what that is. And I think you know, because at first when I heard the clip, I wasn't feeling the whole sacrifice thing, and then how he turned it into, you know, oh, you know, God sacrificed his son. Like I wasn't feeling it at first, because I felt like love is not necessarily a sacrifice. If you're gonna, how do I say this? If I'm gaining something more and something old needs to die, that's because it wasn't working, it wasn't growing. I'm trading the bad in for the good, which sounds like a thing to, you know what I mean? Like, why, like, love. But I do agree, as you guys have, you know, spoken, I do agree that sometimes you have to get your ego out the way. You have to get your pride out the way to say, what am I experiencing? What level, where do I want to go to experience something different? And sometimes it comes by way of our family and friends and people that we're dating one-on-one, and they can say, you know, they can point, they can be a mirror for you too, and by what we're attracting, if that makes sense. Like if I'm constantly with somebody who is not doing the things, and I'm saying I want these standards to be met, and I'm steady dating or spending time in places that aren't giving me that, or I'm having turmoil, I think what Kelly said was right. We're not with people. You know what I'm saying? And it takes some self evaluation to be like, all right, let me get off this hamster wheel and do something different. But I think the big thing is in community, and being around people, like-minded people, people who are going where you want to go. And if that's with a polygamous group of people, go figure out who's doing that and making that work. If it's with married people, go figure that out. Talk to Hink some more. He married and happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, just do the things that's gonna work for you and your situation, I feel. And I don't believe that it's just women that's in their ego. I think people, parents, dads, people be in their ego. Women too, you know. Oh, yeah.
All right, let's go to Viz then, mistaken.
Right. The original sacrifice was giving something for something. Back in the original, the biblical days, you sacrifice livestock, lambs, goats, whatever, in exchange for something. So I understand how that thought or that word can be can appear negative, just as submission. The term submission, especially for women, is a trigger that is just like submit. It's not. Submission is, and I can't remember who said it. I've seen it on the video, but submission is literally just giving your best version of what it is that you have to offer. When you submit a paper, when you're in school and you submit a paper, you submit your resume, you're submitting the best of what it is that you have to this person. But we live in a society of where it has stepped away from traditions to where it has demonized something that is a staple in a healthy relationship.
I think men weaponize that more than act, because I don't have an issue with submit. I just want to let you know that. I think men weaponize it though. Women don't want to submit. Whoa, you're right. Chill. But I receive what you're saying though.
That's fair. And I agree. There are a lot of weak ass men out here that abuse that just because they have a penis. You know what I'm saying? Just because you got a penis don't mean shit. Because around other men with penises, you ain't shit. So, but that's on the woman to understand who it is that she's choosing. That's not on men. Because men already pointed them out. That's on the woman. That's on you. So I do agree with that. But as a whole, still, what we see on social media is that a lot of women are triggered by the word submission. I believe that men and women submit to each other. That is how you have a healthy and sound relationship. There's a gentleman that I'm good friends with, and he's married, and he told me this term that he got from someone else, as to where in marriage we have to understand, and even in serious committed relationships, if you're engaged, on both sides, there every day you have to crucify your flesh in order to make that relationship work. Yes, love should be easy, but it's not realistically, because you're dealing with another person that is ever evolving. There are times all throughout all of our lives where we were still learning our own selves. So if we expect to give ourselves the grace to be able to understand and learn ourselves, we have to be able to do and offer the same thing to our spouse that we say that we want to be with. It's imperative for a healthy relationship for that to happen. I'll close out with this. I film weddings for a living, and I've worked easily over 100 of them, be it white, black, African, and at almost every single wedding that I've worked, some older person will get up that's been married for 10, 20, 40 years, and they would say, you have to continue to date each other, and you have to continue to choose each other every single day. Because it's going to be days that, man, I hate this motherfucker. I'm tired of looking at this bitch. Nigga, your dick little. Whatever the case may be, there's always going to be something at some point where it's like, damn, is this worth it? There was a video I shared on Instagram where it was this older couple. They in their 70s, 80s or something. And you see candid footage of motherfuckers in the rain, and the old man walking up to his wife and he hug him and kiss, and motherfuckers eating ice cream together. And the caption said, I wonder how many times did they forgive each other? That's what we're missing. Is because we got options. So when I'm a firm believer, if we get back to that, if we push that over all of the fear, over all of the bullshit, over all of the noise that is on social media, then the world, the black community at the minimum, fuck what go on in the world, fuck what white people doing, fuck what whoever else is doing. At the minimum, at least started, like you said, Luis said, start in the house. You start in the house and you branch out from that into the community. And if we're all preaching this same standard, what can come from that would be absolutely beautiful. But we got to get back to that, and we have to believe that, because every day you have to choose that person that you're with. It's easy to walk away. And that's why a lot of motherfuckers is single now. That's why Shorty is talking about, oh, you got to meet all my requirements and all this other shit. You gotta choose that person that you're with every single day, because you think it's somebody else that's better out there, but it's damn near not. You don't know for sure. So is that risk really worth taking that chance of being a motherfucker, a cat lady, or some lame ass nigga on the internet arguing with women because they hurt? So
Viz, we could get there, Viz. We could get there. The only thing is that are we prepared to throw the whole culture out the window? Are we prepared to throw the whole culture in its toxic roots, in its toxic everything that is baked in its misogyny, chauvinism, its toxic route, its misinformation, its misleading of guidance and leadership. Are we prepared to throw all of that out the window? And if the answer is no, we cannot get there. Not as quickly as we would like. We have to throw the whole culture out the window.
Mhm.
That's gonna take some
All right, can
vulnerability, man.
I didn't respond to the video, but
Oh, hold on 1 second. Let's just go to mistaken, and then we're gonna go with clout.
I had wrote a few things down. I don't know. I think it was Kelly. I wanted to build on what she said. I think she had said something about with the sacrifice that sometimes like relationships are easy. What's hard is when you're struggling with the wrong person, um, which I agree. But I also think too, to add to that is uh, sh- struggling with the wrong people. A lot of times when we are saying that, we're saying we're struggling with the wrong person, meaning that it's the other person. And a lot of times, I think you yourself could be the struggle. Like you're the struggle, right? If you haven't like how we were talking about earlier, sacrificing your ego, sacrificing past trauma, sacrificing all of those things, you come into a relationship and your perception is that the other person is the problem. And that's why you're struggling, because you want them to adapt to your flaws, your insecurities, your trauma, which if they did, you feel it would make the relationship better. So a lot of times we are projecting when we need to be reflecting, right? Even for me, a lot of times I will get upset about something and then come back and recognize that he didn't mean it like that. I took it like that. And then I have to go apologize for it. So sometimes you have to recognize what the struggle is, right? So I do agree with you, but that's another layer to that idea is that looking outside yourself and saying that you're struggling with the wrong person when sometimes that wrong person is you. Um, the other thing is what he pointed out is love is the willing to make the sacrifice even if they don't change. That just hit. That just hit so good. But one of the problems is that I think that what happens a lot of times, even in this conversation that we were having earlier about what you bring to the table, a lot of times we go into relationships looking for what other people can give us. And to me, that mindset is the total opposite of what sacrifice is, because you're looking for the person to fulfill things that you want, as opposed to the mindset of, am I at the capacity that I can give the other person what they need? And I had put too, a lot of times people go into relationships with the mindset too of who is going to have more control or power. So then it becomes a power dynamic, a struggle. But imagine if everybody walked into a relationship with their mind on what I am going to be able to sacrifice for the other person. And I think when you have that mindset, it makes you think of relationship totally different. Do I have the capacity to even sacrifice when I look at this person as who they are and I want to accept them as who they are fully? Do I have the ability and capacity to even sacrifice to build them up, right? Because when I had looked up like sacrifice, I wanted to kind of get a conceptual idea of it. And it was two things that I saw. It said it refers to giving up something valuable, important, or desired for the sake of something else considered to have greater value or significance. Or overall sacrifice involves a trade off where something is relinquished for a higher purpose, belief, or desired outcome. And being able to see that in concrete, that is when Viz was talking about having a structure, I would say that is the infrastructure to marriage. Like I think Clout was saying something about marriage not necessarily being a tradition because there's so many options of what you can choose. You can have a marriage, but not, the gender roles or the expectations of who do what is what changed. But the foundation of a marriage is exactly that. How much am I willing to sacrifice for the greater good of the marriage? Am I willing to put my ego aside? Am I willing to lose sleep because I know I have to support his dream or I have to help with the kids? All of those things. So I think if we just reframe our mindset about what a marriage is like, what love means, that we would see a decrease in divorce, as opposed to looking at marriages, what is the other person going to fulfill for me?
All right, go ahead, Clout.
Okay, so I wrote a couple things down, but he said something about that someone's your person if you're willing to sacrifice for them even if they don't change. I think that's dangerous advice. And the reason why I think that is because people sacrifice for drugs. People sacrifice for toxic relationships. People sacrifice for all type of things that aren't healthy, that don't serve them. So to use that as a measurement, what you're willing to sacrifice for as a measurement of whether that's your person or not, I think that's odd. On top of that, he emphasized that your partner shouldn't have to change, but that there seems to be this emphasis on you as the individual sacrificing. So it doesn't make sense to me that a loving relationship will require that you don't expect your partner to change, but you expect yourself to change. I think that's more so what happens in relationships that are self-sacrificial. And again, those relationships are usually toxic and not healthy. On top of that, love, in my opinion, it's not a sacrifice when it's love. If I feed my child, there was no sacrifice made. If I feed my pet, there was no sacrifice made. If I view it as a sacrifice, then to me, that's a clear sign that that's not my person, because it shouldn't be a sacrifice. It should be feeding your loved one should be like wiping your own ass. It should be like feeding yourself. Do unto others as you do unto yourself. So there's no way I'm sacrificing anything by feeding my loved ones, because that's just like feeding myself. There's no sacrifice by me taking time to work hard to take care of my family, because I'm taking care of myself by taking care of my family. So a lot of the wording and a lot of the things he said, to me, it's contradictory. You can't tell me that I'm supposed to be willing to sacrifice even if the person doesn't change, but you're essentially saying I'm supposed to change if the person doesn't change. But whatever happened is standing on your principles and standing on what you believe. I don't think a person who loves you also would require that type of sacrifice from you. If it's something that comes off as a sacrifice, they wouldn't require that of you. Nobody would really want you to do that. They would want you to feel whole, and they would want to enrich you the same way that you're enriching them. So giving out of love is no sacrifice at all. So to me, it doesn't make sense.
So from this, I'm sorry, Kelly. I'm gonna just say this real quick. So maybe it's because I don't know if you know, he's a pastor. So from a biblical term, sacrifice is giving. If you are feeding your child, you sacrifice something in order to be able to feed your child.
But that's my point.
You sacrificed your time. This
Sacrifice is done with an intention, like you said earlier. You said when you sacrifice something, you're doing it to get in return. But love is given freely. So love is not a sacrifice.
Let me finish, bro.
By definition, it's not, because it's not an exchange.
If in order modern day, in order for you to feed your child, you have to pay money, use money to feed them. Most people.
Yes.
In order to get the money, you had to work. The average person sacrifices time to work for the money. When you feed your child, you're now sacrificing whatever funds it is that you made in order to feed your child or that pet. So it's I get what you're saying, but at the end of the day, you are still making a sacrifice. We are all right now sacrificing our time to be on this panel to have this conversation. So we are that a part of life is sacrificing.
I can't necessarily, I can't accept that. And the reason why is because this to me is not a sacrifice of my time. I chose to be here. I put myself here and I gave my time. I didn't sacrifice.
But you can be doing anything else with
But I
time.
didn't want, see, this is the difference. I could be, but I didn't want to be doing something different. That's why it's not a sacrifice. I'm here for the love. You get what I'm saying? I'm giving my time. So what I'm saying is, if I wanted to do something else, then I would not be giving my time to you guys freely. That would then be a sacrifice. If I didn't want to feed my child and had to go work to feed my child, then I would be sacrificing for my child because I would be giving up something which I want to retain. But to give my love to my child is no sacrifice. That I'm not losing anything by doing that. I'm gaining. So there's no sacrifice being made. That's the point.
In sacrificing, the entire point of sacrificing is to receive, bro. That is what sacrificing is.
Love is not done to receive. Love is done to give, which is why love is not a sacrifice. That's my point. You're proving my point the more you talk.
It is not. The Bible says God so loved the world that he gave.
If you are giving freely, you are doing out of love. Sacrifice is done for return. Love is done for free. They're two different things.
Hold on, y'all, because I think Kelly was trying to
slaughter a goat. Hold on. If I slaughter a goat because I want to get forgiven of my sins, that's a sacrifice. If I slaughter a goat to feed my loved ones, that's not a sacrifice. That was an act of love.
All right, I think Kelly was trying to get in and then die.
Well, I believe when Pastor Keon referred to sacrifice, it can be as small as making that choice to call a person in the morning when that's something that you don't have to do. So you're giving someone a part of you. Yes.
But you want to.
Right. And so if you were dealing with someone who you didn't want to do it with, then you're not making a sacrifice for that person. And so what he was saying is that that's when you know that that's your person, when you actually choose to make the sacrifice. Because there's so many things that people don't have to do. There's plenty of men out here that have kids. They don't necessarily take care of them. But then you have men who do. They're choosing to do so. They are making that sacrifice. It's simple as that. I don't think we have to look into it really deep, but that's what he's referring to, giving a part of yourself to someone because you don't have to.
But what I'm saying is that's not a standard to decide whether or not that's your person or not. Just because you're willing to give to someone that you don't have to doesn't mean they're your person. That's not a logical way to decide if someone's your person.
Yeah, it may not be the only standard, but it's part of it. It's just
But that's what he said was the standard for. He said, this is how you know that this is your person. So that's what I'm disagreeing with. The idea that you being willing to give to someone or sacrifice means that they're your person. That doesn't make sense to me. And that's what I'm disagreeing with.
He probably could have named 10 other things to make someone realize how that's their person. That's just the one that he chose to speak on.
And that's the one I'm disagreeing with.
Well,
hey, I think you might be missing the context of it too, though, bro.
Hold on, let me finish. No, go ahead, Di. Let's say something. Go.
Thank you. I agree with Cloud with the beginning part. I do feel like he went to the extreme when he said, I'm going to stick with this person even if they don't change. We all have purpose in this life. So you also want to make sure your person aligns with your purpose. And I feel like I would never sacrifice God's purpose in my life to be with somebody who doesn't want to go down that road. But I do feel like it sounds like what sometimes women take as submission, it sounds like that's how you're taking sacrifice. Because when it comes down to sacrifice, For instance, when they said sacrificing your ego, it's something that you want, something that you cherish, and you're giving it in order to get something back in return. So, for instance, if I find a man who can articulate his thoughts and emotions to me and explain to me, because if y'all go to my Facebook page, sorry, I'm a hoochie, but that's just how I express myself. But if I had a man who actually could talk to me and tell me, hey, this is important to me. I feel like now that we're going to be raising a family, this is the example I want to be set for my family. And he explains it clearly. I will sacrifice my ego and what I want to make that relationship work. Sometimes, for instance, when I used to get into it with my ex, he would be wrong and he would start the issue 1st. And sometimes I had to sacrifice my pride to be right, my pride to say, okay, no, you're wrong. And I had to sit back and let him vent and get all the emotions out in order to come to a resolution. Sometimes we have to do that. Sometimes you as men, we might be very emotional. We might be on our period. We might be, for me, when I'm doing birthdays, I'm very antsy and I might talk a little bit louder and I might put a little bit more pressure on you. As a man, you have to compromise your emotions and your irritability and your urge to say, hey, 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 because this is what your body wants to do. Sometimes you have to sacrifice those things that feels good to you. Just like when Hank was just on here, men sacrifice their urges to have sex with other women a lot for their marriage. It's just something that your body wants to do, but you're going to say, nah, I'm not going to respond to that right now. I'm going to do this. And although sacrifice in my head doesn't mean I'm giving up something that I really, really want so bad to get this. And it's no sacrifice for me is a good feeling. It's not because I know that I'm getting my, like you said, to feed my daughter. I'm going to sacrifice my money to feed my daughter because I'm gaining her trust. I want her trust. I want her to know that she could depend on me. I want her to know that she can, and it's not an intentional sacrifice, but in our reality, it's still a sacrifice because what if I needed that money for gas? Now I'm sacrificing that. So I understand where you're coming from, and I 100% agree with you with the first part. But when I used to hear sacrifice and submission, I used to see it as like, hold on, what are you talking about? I'm not giving up nothing that I need and love for something else. But then it's like, essentially that's what we're doing. We're saying, nah, I'm gonna put the fleshly needs to the side and I'm gonna do what's best for my family at all times.
So what I was going to say to you, Cloud, was I think what the few parts that you're missing is that the idea of what he was speaking on was also that both should be sacrificing for each other, right? So if both of y'all are sacrificing, then that means just by default, y'all are meeting each other's needs, right? So that's one thing. And the other idea of sacrifice is a trade-off. And I get what you're saying in terms of love, but I think sacrifice plays a role in love because love, I wrote this down, because love can lead people to prioritize their well-being for the person that they are in love with, right? So even at the cost of their own desires and comfort. So you're saying like you're feeding your kids is not a sacrifice because you want to do it. But the definition of sacrifice is to prioritize their well-being over your own desire and comfort, right? So I know you would probably rather not be at work and spending time with your kids, but because you know you need to feed them, you're going to sacrifice that time out of love because you want to make sure that they're healthy, right? So I think it's kind of like we look at it from a negative sense because not all sacrifice is always bad
That's not what I meant,
sacrifice.
but that's not what I meant.
So for instance, in a relationship, at some point in any relationship, that when you are in love with a person, and that can be friendship and you love them, parent-child relationship, mother-father relationship, significant other relationship, you in that relationship long enough, you will sacrifice. There is no way that a relationship, let me say, I've been married 21 years, but been with my husband for a total of 28. And out of that time, we got 2 kids, and there was a lot of sacrifices made, speaking from the perspective of what you're saying, the negative sacrifice, meaning it was something that I had to give up that I did not want to, but for the greater good of the family, I had to. Same thing with him. For the greater good of, we actually had an argument the night before last. It was stupid. It was
What?
over the comfort of going to sleep. He didn't want me to hold him. I need body touch. I need skin to skin contact when I sleep. And he, and he like, yo, get off me. Like, I just want to be comfortable tonight. He's like, my arm go to sleep. Like, I just want to be comfortable, right? And he's like, I always like, you don't understand. And honestly, that, you know, when I think we talked about sacrifice, he did. He would usually give up his comfort for my comfort.
Might give up a whole arm.
See,
right.
I feel like I want to respond to you because I feel like you're misunderstanding like where I was coming from. I was never saying that sacrifice was a bad thing per se.
Okay.
However, I don't necessarily agree that a person should give up their comfort. Like, for example, how you saying your husband's arm, whatever, he couldn't sleep. I don't think that he should do that personally. I think he should get a good night's sleep and you should get a good night's sleep. What I'm more so saying is that when I'm doing something for my loved ones, like, all right, I'm going to read one of the definitions I found for sacrifice. And I feel like this will make more sense, right? It says to give up something important or valued for the sake of other considerations. Now, my thing is like, when it's love, there are no other considerations. So something isn't being given up for other considerations because that thing is the consideration. The well-being of my children is the only consideration. There is no me. You get what I'm saying? And I feel like y'all are looking at it as though, and I think when people think of it from the perspective of sacrifice, what that does is that can create resentment because in their mind, they genuinely believe that they're giving up something for the benefit of the other person. But if you're doing something out of love genuinely, then you're really not giving up anything. You're the one that's gaining because that's what you wanted to get. What you wanted to get was that thing. So you're the one that's gaining. You haven't lost anything. You haven't given up anything. There was no trade made. You just gave.
It is. I think that's what you're missing. So think about it like all of the people who play sports, right?
Sports isn't a love-based relationship.
Sacrificing their bodies. They're sacrificing their time. They're sacrificing.
But none of those things are done. But that's not for love. They do that for a check.
For the love of the sport. It is. It's for the love.
People who genuinely love the sport, it's not a sacrifice. Like if I like to play basketball, I didn't sacrifice my time. I'm doing what I wanted to do with my time, which is play basketball. I didn't sacrifice my time to play basketball.
You sacrifice
out somewhere else.
You sacrificing your body though.
Well, you sacrifice your body, but even things that you want to do. Like I have a nephew now that plays ball. Even my brother, he had played in the NBA. He sacrificed a lot in order to do that because there were times he wanted to be home with his family. He wanted to be here during holidays. He wanted to be, with his kids, but he couldn't. So in order to provide for them, he sacrificed holidays, he sacrificed time with them in order to play ball. And he loved the sport. But at the end of the day, they were sacrifices that he made that he would have rather been at home with his family than dribbling a ball. So there are sacrifices that you make along the way. And he sacrificed his body because now he got issues with his knees and everything.
I don't know. Like, if you brush your teeth, is that sacrificing taking a shower? Like, if you eat breakfast,
didn't want to do it.
If you eat breakfast, is that sacrificing an extra hour? Like, no, but I mean, if you wanted to wake up and eat breakfast, if that's what you wanted to do with your time, did you sacrifice sleep? No, you didn't. You did it. Like, I'm not understanding.
You did though. You're technically.
We're
you
talking
didn't give
about
up sleep because you didn't want sleep.
Hold on, you guys. Let Kelly speak.
It's two things between sacrifice and
Hold on, y'all. Let Kelly speak, y'all.
You're not giving up. I wasn't okay, guys.
I mean, I'm trying to get everybody in that hasn't been talking as well. So we got to make sure we be mindful of that.
For sure.
I know Diane and Kelly haven't been speaking.
I think Miss Taken was just using it as an example, but as an example in regards to another person. I know she mentioned sports, but it's in regards to something else. And you're saying if you get up in the morning and brush your teeth, is it a sacrifice? We're not talking about a sacrifice to yourself. We're talking about a sacrifice towards someone else.
What I'm saying though is that when love is involved, that person is no longer someone else to you. That person is an extension of yourself,
I
and
think it's the
therefore
love that
you're
makes
not
it the sacrifice.
sacrificing
Hold on,
because
Dad. Hold on, Dad.
Oh,
Let
sorry.
yourself
when
finish.
there's love involved, you're not giving from you to another person that's outside of you. It's the same as giving to yourself. You're giving freely. It's not an exchange. You're not giving up anything. There's no loss on your end. That's all I'm saying, which is why love is different from sacrifice, in my opinion. But again, we don't have to agree on it.
I think love includes, I think sacrifice has a lot to do with love. And like I said, like they were just saying, like, if you go back to my example when I said I like to dress a certain type of way. A lot of women like to dress a certain type of way. We like to do certain things and be in certain environments because that's what we enjoy. When you give up something you enjoy for the betterment of the relationship, that's a sacrifice. And there's nothing wrong with sacrifice. Actually, sacrifice is needed to create growth, to create think of it like almost compromising. Sacrifice and compromising are very similar. It's you're coming to a term to say, I'm going to get rid of this fleshly want or need. And sacrifice looks different for everybody. So what might be sacrifice to me might not be sacrifice to you, because it depends on how you value the things that you give up and how I value the things that I give up. Somebody telling me, oh, you wear this, and that, and me saying, okay, yeah, I agree with you. For me, that's a sacrifice, because for me, that I cherish that. That's something I value myself upon. You get what I'm saying? So like for you, like you said, feeding your kids is not a sacrifice because you don't value your money equally as your kids. You get what I'm saying? That's different. I understand why you use that example and said that's not a form of sacrifice. And that's it's based on
You're
what you
proving my
value.
point though, because
But
you
like I
only
said, it's
only
based
see it
on,
as a sacrifice if you view your money as equal value to your
so
kids.
that's why
And I don't, which is why I could never see giving up money from I could never see that as a
No,
sacrifice
that's why I
because
said,
they're
but
not
you're
of equal
using
value.
but you're using that specific example. Let's go back, for instance, in the very beginning of your relationship, when you had those manly urges and you were used to dating multiple women and it was time for you to settle down. At some point, you had to reject those urges that you some point valued and held to,
No,
or any other man. Yes, you have to
no,
put
that's
those,
not me.
because you're sacrificing
When I'm in
you're
love with someone,
sacrificing your
I'm not thinking
pleasures.
about nobody else. There's no sacrifice to be made. When I'm in love, and that's where I'm at, there is no other thought.
But
There is no
but you're
desire.
going
So
through a
I'm not. Hold on, hold on,
relationship,
hold
but
on.
you have to understand you're
But
going
let me
through a
finish.
relationship
But
point
Yeah,
because
before
Doc,
you
bring
get
it,
into
bring
love.
it down, Doc. Bring it down.
finish though, because
Sorry.
you just made a claim on what you think it is, but that's not how it works. For me as an individual, when I'm in love with someone, right? I don't have a desire. So I'm not sacrificing a desire. The desire isn't there. There is no desire because I'm focused on this one person. So that's what I'm trying to explain. If I was to be viewing not sleeping with other people as a sacrifice, then I'm probably going to end up cheating because it shouldn't be a sacrifice. I'm not giving up nothing in these streets if I'm with the person I love. That's the point I'm trying to make. If I view it as giving up something in the streets, then of course I'm going to end up back in the streets because I think I'm giving something up. But I'm not giving up anything. That's my point.
Can I just add something? I mean, why not have both?
Mm-hmm.
If both, to me, life is about balance, and balance spreads across a lot of different things. If you got balance in your thoughts and how you view things, then I think you have a better chance at being in peace, whatever that situation may be. I think Clout may be saying the same things that you guys are saying, but you just look at it differently. And then if we look at the definition, everybody's perception is different. But when you
Yep.
look at the action, is the action aligning up the same? It seems very similar. It might be small details that might be a little bit different, but it seems like everybody's arriving at the same place.
It's the
So
same thing.
I don't even think that we need to be arguing. He may call it you may call it sacrifice, he may call it love. But whatever the case may be, it's all going to the same place. And I think that should be the bigger thing we should take away from it, is that he's not at least he's saying he's willing to love. We don't hear any hate, right? I don't think we have to try to prove anybody. I think as individuals, we are gonna look at things differently. But if you really listen past that word, because that word, I mean, these are man-made words that's created. But I don't think our feelings are man-made. I think the world has an influence on our thoughts, but we're still gonna think what we want to think at the end of the day. So I don't think that we should really down what he's saying. And if you listen, because we do this a lot of times, we hear what we want to hear. Y'all are hearing. I'm hearing Clout basically saying the same exact shit that y'all saying.
Yeah, he's saying the same exact thing.
And I don't see anything wrong with he's saying. I ultimately believe that you do have to sacrifice. I'm in agreement with a lot of people on the panel, but I also agree that there has to be some love with it too. But if you got a balance of both of them, then I think that we're gonna all arrive at the same place. I think you have an advantage when you can look at both of them and say, I sacrifice and I love.
That's
to me, that's the shit. You got everything. But that's just my opinion. I respect everybody else's opinion, but I know we just gonna keep going in circles with this one, man.
Nah, you definitely brought it full circle. You closed the loop.
That was it. That was it right there.
That was it right there. That was the take.
That was it.
Well, maybe we were thrown off because he started out by saying that the advice was dangerous advice in regards to sacrifice. It's like, I don't know how that could be so dangerous when you're dealing with love.
He was talking about when he said stand with somebody even if they don't change.
Yeah, if they don't change.
Like that, I think that
Yeah,
was
because the ramifications of that is like, what if somebody's beating you? Like, does
Yeah.
that mean you're supposed to stay with them even if they don't change? What if they're cheating on you, hurting themselves, hurting your children? Like, like certain sacrifices can't be made.
I ain't gonna
You
lie, it
can.
sounded like a
You can still
manipulation
love
tactic.
them, even though they're doing that, but sacrifice the relationship for the betterment of you. Because the idea of sacrifice is that you're giving up something, your discomfort or whatever, you're giving up something for something else for the betterment, right? So I would have to, because I love myself, I have to sacrifice this relationship.
I think
So
I get
you're
what
giving that up.
I'm sorry.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, like I said, sacrifice, I think love is, I think sacrifice is one of the actions of love. You know what I'm saying? So I think you have love as the noun, the emotion of it. And I think the sacrifice is the verb, the action of it. So they kind of play off of each other.
As bad as even when we come to our own conclusions, we still got to have that understanding portion of it, because you could be right in your way, but I still think there has to be some understanding in what other people are saying. I just seen Dad say, "Oh, now I get it." But just imagine how further we can be if we actually listen to understand, so that we can kind of get somewhere with it. Because to tell you the truth, none of us is right or wrong. It's going to all be based off our perception. But if you lean more on just understanding and not focusing on who's right or who's wrong, but just the understanding portion of it, then I think that we can really kind of move forward, because we all trying to get it right. We all trying to figure out. Some people struggle to try to figure it out. And some people get the bigger picture. I'm focused on the bigger picture. I'm looking long term, and I'm trying to refrain from being in conflict and seeing how we can grow. I understand that I still got some learning to do. I'm always going to be a student. So even though if I really look to see what you're saying, then it's a possibility I might be able to gain something from it. If I don't gain something from it, I'm gonna leave it where it is. But this is simple communication, which a lot of folks don't understand. It's rare for people to get what I'm saying right now. I'm hoping I'm articulating the way, but it's a possibility that I may be saying something y'all may think is fluff. But that means that I need to do a better job, or maybe I can tap into somebody else that might be able to explain it to you. But the goal is we all trying to figure out this thing called life, and we all trying to make it as peaceful and comfortable as possible. But it all starts. One thing I'm not going to fold on is understanding. I think understanding is an important piece. Even when I look to somebody, I need you to at least understand. I don't want a conflict. I don't want a battle. But if we can come together and figure it out, because we're two different people, two different upbringings. We meet each other when we was 2 years old. We probably met each other when we was 40, 45. Who knows? But if I can come in with understanding, then at least we can kind of grow from that moment.
I think that's the biggest part about sacrifice. It's always, it goes hand in hand with growth for me. And when I just agree with him, well, I see what he was saying. Because when I say I got to sacrifice weed so I can get here, I got to sacrifice this. 9 times out of 10, the thing that you're sacrificing, I think is where Cloud was coming from, is usually something that's not the betterment for the family anyway. You know what I'm saying? So that's why he like, it's not a sacrifice to me. I don't want it. Once I realize it ain't for my family, it ain't hard to get that up. With the cattle always going to have its benefits. It's always going to have its importance. So when you sacrifice that lamb, it's something that that you gonna eventually you gonna get another lamb. You could get to keep that lamb, but you giving up. I get what he's saying, but what you said was the biggest part. When you sacrificing, growth comes immediately after. Understanding comes immediately after. So yeah, you have to sacrifice to grow. It's important.
Yep. We're going to get up out of here, man. We got to close this out so
Yes.
everybody can get to where they need to go. I appreciate the panel, everybody that has fallen off, all the fallen soldiers. Thank you guys for your contributions. Thank you, Miss Kelly, Biz, Clout Jones, Di, Mistaken, Ramey, Luis. Did I miss anybody? I want to thank myself, man, because I had to have some understanding to be able to push through all of this. Black lives make America greater. Be careful with that hat, man. Somebody might be a small Democrat and might be like, what the fuck?
Trump 2024.
We did have HR in the building today. So if any hurt feelings reports need to be filled out, y'all make sure y'all direct the energy towards there because I'm no longer involved. I am hands off. I want to thank Erica, Blacksicon, Shannon Duncan, AP. What's going on, BZ?
Let's go.
We got Torrance Moore, Patrick Neal. I don't think I've seen you, so welcome. There's a few people I've seen that's new. Good to see you guys in attendance. Thank you. And y'all have a blessed one, man. I'll catch us on Humday Shenanigans next week, same time, same place. We got people that's talk tomorrow. So that's a little bit chaotic, so we're ready to turn up a little bit. Y'all make sure y'all come through. I know Dad's supposed to be on. Viz, you're coming through tomorrow too, right? Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Viz will be there tomorrow. So y'all make sure y'all tune in for that and catch us on the next one, man. We are out.